All right, good evening, everybody. This is the iVCS Last Chance 275 here on Speed Racing Network. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with my good buddy, Superman Brandon Browning. How's it going tonight, Brandon?
Oh, it's going great, Sean. I appreciate, the opportunity to be on the broadcast, and above all else, man, Daytona tonight, my favorite style of racing. So I'm excited to get this one going.
Huge race tonight, Brandon. This is the absolute last chance for a bunch of these guys to get into the playoffs. This is the last regular season race, and what better place to come than the wild card Daytona?
Yeah, and this is a lot like, for my dirt guys out there that might be tuning in, this is a lot like an LCQ, a last chance qualifier, because that's exactly what it is. In 110 laps, we're going to know who's going on and who's going home. And I think that's going to get crazy the closer we get through stage one, through stage two, and especially the last about 25 laps of this race. Things are going to get absolutely wild, John.
Well, when you're here with the iVCS League, one thing that you have to understand is this is not a typical iRacing race. There are no fast repairs here. So if you mess up once in this fast restrictor plate style racing, you're out.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing we're looking at here is you got those guys that are close to the bubble, those guys that even are locked in, that want to set their momentum and rocket forward into the playoffs. One wrong move here, even on lap one, could destroy your chances of a good finish here and kill any and all momentum you have coming in. That's why we do refer to Daytona, especially in this slot, the wild card, because realistically anything can happen.
That is absolutely right. They've got 110 laps to settle it out there on the track. We've got three stages, lap 35, lap 70, lap 110, where there are some stage points that's going to come into play for these guys that are on the playoff bubble. But again, no fast repairs.
Yeah, and I know, going back with the iVCS to think back to the Charlotte race, the Coke 600, that was the longest race as a viewer. But tonight, even though this isn't the longest race on the schedule, it's going to be the longest 110 laps of the season, Sean. It's the last chance for everyone. Even if you're locked in, you still want to come out of here with a good finish. You want to come out here on the good side of things. And you might not. Not everyone here is going to have a good finish tonight.
It's absolutely correct. And so let's take a look right now at the playoff picture. Brandon, look how crowded it is up at the top, but look how crowded it is on the bottom.
Yeah, we got these guys in blue. They're feeling good. They're feeling okay. They're not worried about anything but a good finish tonight. They're going to be here next week when we go to Darlington and beyond in the playoffs. But if you look down there around 14th, Mark Kuda, Jeremy Boucher, Jason Tripp, even Jordan Sailors and PJ Engelkens, all here at Daytona tonight, can outcome Daytona in the playoffs or out of the playoffs. And realistically, the unfortunate part, a lot of races, it's under your control. Daytona is not a racetrack where it's 100% in your control. Anything can happen here, and the slightest mishap could take you away. It could turn you from a bubble driver to a we'll see you on the couch next week driver, Sean.
Absolutely, and look at that cut line right now. There is actually a tie on the cut line. So Jason Tripp, Jordan Sailors, they are completely tied. Mark Kuda's kind of sitting pretty right now. He doesn't have to do too much to make it in, but he should still be very, very careful. If somebody wins and then Boucher has a really, really good finish and one of these other guys has a good finish, then that could kick Mark Kuda out.
Yeah, and especially like a situation off the top of my head that comes to mind. Let's say Jason Tripp, right? Or actually, we won't say Jason Tripp. We'll say Jordan Sailors, because right now he's in 17th spot below the cut line. Let's say Jordan goes out here and has the race of a lifetime. He leads as many laps as he can. He leads the most laps. That's, points for leading a lap, points for leading the most. He wins both stages. He can walk out of here with more, or at the cut, 66 points at most. So even that 42 that seems fantastic for Mark Kuda, if he gets involved in something here and it hurts him, it may not be enough. He still could miss the playoffs.
This is one of those races where even if you do get into an accident, you have to get into the pits, and it takes a good 20, 30 minutes to fix your car. Get that car back on the track, because you just never know what those extra points are going to mean.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And the fact of the matter is, if you go, like, let's say, we'll use those same guys as an example. Let's say Mark Kuda's involved in something early, and then he goes in the pits, he's blown his motor, he's got to sit there for 30 minutes. You'd think, man, his day's done. But then you could have Jason Tripp come right in behind him and go 5 more laps and have the same thing happen. The big thing that's going to happen there is, as Mark Kuda, you're going to want to get that repairs fixed, even if you're so slow, these guys are lapping you every 2 laps. You want to make as many as you can, because that one position, that 30-minute wait to gain one position could be the difference in being in and being out.
Yeah, and we are definitely going to be talking a lot about that cut line all night tonight because, of course, this is the biggest race of the year for those 5 guys. But let's not look past these guys up in blue, especially Timothy Latham in the number 5 car. He's our points leader. He's had 7 wins on the season so far.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of chatting with Timothy earlier this week, a couple days ago, and we were kind of just in the Discord hanging out and talking. And the unfortunate part for a lot of these guys that we've talked about, those 2 guys you see at the top of your leaderboards right now, Timothy Latham and Oscar Jensen, are the exact 2 guys that when we get into these playoff runs, no matter where you go, now, of course, a lot has changed, tire models, the way the car drives, all types of things like that have changed. But when you revisit some of these tracks from the first time this season, you see the 51 and the 5 are at the top of a lot of those leaderboards. So we'll need to see guys like Chad Gennigsman, Kendall LeVron, some of those guys, Dennis Ansman, down the stats. If they want to beat them, they have to show up in a huge way. And what better way to do that than here tonight at Daytona? Catapult yourself into the playoffs with all kind of momentum.
Yeah, Timothy definitely has the inside line on the playoffs with all those bonus points going on because of stage wins and also race wins. And so he is sitting really pretty right now. But, man, this is going to be a fantastic race. I love these restrictor plate tracks, and I know you do too.
Yeah, this is my style of racing here, man. It's pure chaos from the moment the first flag drops to the last flag drops. You could be going fine off of turn 2, and by the time you get, we'll say 3/4 to a mile down the backstretch, you could be junked and totally your race be over. So you never know. This is like a grab bag. Each lap, you're reaching in the bag and you're pulling out what's going to happen in that lap, and you don't know until it's too late. You know, you could be riding in the back, biding your time, minding your business, and someone else just take you out. You could be at the front leading, minding your own business, not in anyone's way, not doing a thing, and the same sort of thing happen. It's literally going to be madness, and that's the only way that I can describe it. Right now, what you're seeing between these drivers, and we'll get to that here in just a moment, it's the calmest they're going to be all night. And even right now, they're not that calm, Sean.
Well, and part of the reason they're not that calm is there is money on the line. Now, it's not just tonight, although some of these drivers, it is for tonight. So basically, these season payouts here on the right side of your screen, that's first place for the playoffs. And so those guys that are already into the playoffs, those top 13, they're already guaranteed money. But if you look, 14th, 15th, and 16th haven't been decided yet. So tonight is actually going to earn them money in the long run.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, if you finish 12th or better, you either break even or you come out winning money. And I'm not exactly for sure how much the sign up was for the league preseason or anything like that. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it was either $30 or less, maybe just a hair more than $30. But that's for all 36 races this season. They run a full cup schedule. So obviously, even if you know you can't get to that first or second spot, you still want to try for third. You still want to try for fourth. You want to get as much as you can because money up, money gained is better than money spent, Sean.
Absolutely. These guys have been driving already. This is week number 26, and they have to show people that they care about and that care about them that they're doing this for a reason. And so money always is a good sign of that.
Yeah, and that's the big saying. I think it was a song by AC/DC. Money talks, man. You show some guys even – down here in the middle of our leaderboard where you have guys that really don't make a name each and every week and they're not up front flaunting their stuff. With that money on the line now, if your name's in blue, it's time to go for it. You could be – right now you could be P.J. Engelkins, and we saw him sitting 14 points below the cut line right now. He's still got to think, and he's got to have the mentality coming into here that he can still win that $235 for first place, because the moment you believe something's impossible is the moment that it becomes impossible, Sean.
That's right. And we got a lot of the guys out there right now. They're out there qualifying. They're out there trying to get the best starting position, the best pit box they can possibly get. So we still have another 6 minutes left in qualifying. But we're going to try to get a couple of these guys up into the booth to talk to them once they get done with their qualifying laps.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the prime and ample opportunity to kind of pick their brains, so to speak, and know what's going through their minds and what to expect from each driver. Personally, I fully expect both of the Flying Arrows, or all of the Flying Arrows drivers, being, teammates, affiliates, however you look at it, Kimry, Benjamin D., and Oscar Jensen, all to just kind of ride around near the back of the pack with the Flashpoint Racing drivers, which are Timothy Latham, Justin Boyles, Chad Genningsman, and Dakota Jorgensen. So I expect a little bit of calmness out of those guys early because majority of those names are in blue in the playoffs. So they want to be there for the end. I think some of these other guys, maybe you see some qualifier series guys that we had come up, maybe guys like Justin D-Reich, who we missed out on for a lot of the season due to different, personal issues. Maybe we see him riding around up front, dicing it up, having some fun with these guys. But it's going to be a blast, and I'm looking forward to talking to some of these guys here in just a moment.
Yeah, this is going to be a great time tonight. And I mean, you can already tell they're getting kind of antsy in their Discord channel already. They're already talking a little bit in there. Even the guys that are already in the playoffs have a few things to say here and there. The warning kind of went out a little bit earlier this week that everybody needs to just kind of be patient out there on the track this week. I know it's going to be a lot of people out there and a lot of stuff on the line, but everybody be patient. But Brandon, I got to tell you, not sure that's going to happen once the green flag goes.
No, and you're exactly right. That's how I was about to head up the same sentence. That's fine and dandy. We could go all week. We could say, hey, we're going to be calm. We're not going to do nothing crazy. And the fact of the matter is, up until you see that green flag waving down in front of you coming off at turn 4 through the tri-oval for the first lap, that's probably your game plan. Some of these guys right now out here qualifying, even if they plan to fall to the back, things could happen in this first lap that prevent them from doing so. They may get pinned on the high line, qualifying like 2nd, 4th, and 6th up there, and not be able to drop back as easily as the guys that qualify on the inside line and fall back. Patience goes out the window, and it's nothing that these guys do wrong, Sean. It's just restrictor plate racing.
It's just kind of the way it goes in racing in general, and here they are at the most famous track of them all at Daytona to really settle some scores and settle the entire season. But if we can, let's see if we can get Justin Boyles in here. He is actually the leader of this entire league, and let's see if we can get his thoughts tonight.
Yeah, I definitely want to pick his brain a little bit and kind of get his insight into what's going on and maybe what their game plan is. I don't think he'll share too much, but we'll see.
All right, Justin Boyles, Sean and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, man?
It's going, man. What's going on?
Man, we wanted to pull you in here. This is the last regular season race of this league, and we just wanted to kind of get your thoughts. I know there's a lot of storylines out there. What are you looking for as a driver?
Just trying to stay out of trouble. I mean, it's Daytona's a wild card. I think this is what NASCAR really wanted to achieve when they made this the final race before the playoffs. So, I mean, it's up for grabs. We got a great battle going on with the bubble guys. So, for me, being locked in our team, we're coming here and really the only thing that's worth anything to us is playoff points. So just going to look to stay out of trouble, maybe have a shot to win a couple stages in the race at the end.
Yeah, and Justin, one thing that I wanted to hit on and kind of mention in the stream throughout as we've gotten going here, Daytona, even though for you, like yourself, you said the playoff points are really all that you gain, but you could pick up so much momentum here and an edge on those other guys that are in blue, that are locked in, and carry it into Darlington. What are your plans to be able to do that when the dust settles tonight?
Well, I think you got to be careful looking too much into how you perform tonight. Even if you come out here and you win this thing, I mean, yeah, it's going to make you feel good and you're going to you have a little, extra confidence. But if you go into Darlington next week kind of holding on to what you did tonight, it's just, I don't think that'll carry over too much. But as far as, just having that extra advantage of, hey, I won last week, I'm can put together a little hot streak. I mean, just like I said, it's just got to take care of the car and be there when the checkered flag comes out, because in order to finish first, you must finish first. So
that's right.
We'll see what happens.
Man, fantastic season. We've enjoyed the league. I can't wait to see what happens in the playoffs. We'll drop you down there with your team again, and good luck tonight.
Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a good one.
You too, buddy. Good luck.
All right, let's see if we can get one more guy in here really quick. We've only got a minute left, but I really want to talk to Jason Tripp, who is on that cut line, and just kind of get his feelings on it. He has not qualified, and I think that's something to really look at. That may be a strategy. Let's see if we can't pull him in and find out.
Yeah, and I definitely think bringing him in here is going to be a whole different outlook. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum of Boyles, but nonetheless no less confident than Boyles is himself.
Jason Tripp, Sean and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going, man?
Going good, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing good. We've been talking all night about these 5 guys that are vying for these last 3 spots, and you are on the cut line. And I see you're not qualifying. Is that a strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Talking over with the crew chief and my spotter, talking to them about what we need to do here, and we decided to kind of stay in the back and let it ride. We don't want to get caught up in any of the big ones early.
Well, actually, let's bring in your crew chief here, and actually your spotter. And so this is Jake Roel is Jason's spotter tonight, and Jake has had some advice for Jason all night long. I don't think that he's near his microphone. Jason, what has he been telling you?
Basically, telling me hold out in the back, hold your lines, do not wreck. Obviously, is always a good one, and kind of just keeping us working with me with the pit strategy and also getting on and off of pit row. Just kind of making sure that we're doing our part.
All right, buddy. Well, we're going to wish you luck. We're going to get you back down there. It looks like everybody's gritting up. Have a fantastic race, and hopefully we see you at the finish line and get to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
Better
Thank
than
you,
that,
guys.
we're going to see that 91 in victory lane, buddy. Good luck tonight. Go get this thing done.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, let's drop him back down into his team. And Brandon, man, they are starting to get gritted up. Some beautiful cars out there. It is almost time. Everybody is amped up, pumped up. It is time to go.
I tell you, the one thing from those interviews that I gathered that stuck with me is exactly what Justin Boyle said. In order to finish first, you must first finish. And I think that's going to play huge. And mentality-wise, that's exactly what you have to think going into this race and coming out the other side.
All right, well, let's take a look really quick at our grid. So it looks like Chad Gunningsman, he is already in the playoffs. He qualified first. Christopher Kimry, who is not eligible for the playoffs, he is in second. Then Benjamin D in third, and then Oscar Jensen in fourth.
Yeah, we have Dakota Jorgensen going to roll it off fifth there. Sixth, Timothy Latham. These guys all locked in. Seventh, Dennis Anson. Eighth is going to be Justin Boyles. Ninth, Thomas Rutherford, one of the drivers that's not really racing for a whole lot tonight other than a win moving forward. We do have more on a little side playoffs that they're running. We'll get to that a little bit later. But 10th place, Kendall Lebron, another one of those drivers that's really kind of surfaced here, Sean, as we're into the final one. The one thing looking at that lineup that I want to touch on, the guys that I said a moment ago that I expected to be at the back are right now qualified first through sixth and eighth place. So maybe that's not the plan. Maybe they're going to handle that a little bit differently here tonight.
Well, it sounds like there's a couple different strategies out there, and we have seen a lot of different strategies in the past in other series where we've even seen people drop back about 8 seconds behind the lead pack just to avoid everything. Not sure we're going to get that tonight, though.
That's pretty much been my only way of avoiding here tonight, like at races at Daytona and restrictor plate races moving forward, Sean.
Let's jump out there and take a look at some of these cars here. And like we said, we've got Chad Gunningsman. He is going to be our pole sitter in that beautiful number 9 car. Then Christopher Kimry in the number 74 Flying Arrows car. My daughter loves that car. Loves the pink, loves the black. Just absolutely wonderful. Then we got Benjamin D, another Flying Arrow, up in third. And then Oscar Jensen in the red, white, blue. He is in fourth. But I think we're about to come around turns 3 and 4 here. And I think we are going to get this party started. What do you think, Brandon?
I think we're going to get it started for a little while here, real slow, build up the anticipation and get this thing rocking and rolling later on into the night. We have the pace car right now leading these guys down into turn number 3. This is the most anticipated moment of the season. You know when you're in, you know when you're out, you know when you're in between, and you got a lot to go. I think, Sean, it's time to kick this thing off. And what better way to do that than with some restrictor plate racing side by side at 200 mile an hour. Right now, the pace car is going to pull off. You have to reach up there. You have to pull the seat belts tight. You have to make the strategy look right, and you have to hold on tight. Boogity, boogity, boogity. We are green at Daytona, the final regular season race of this season. And it's going to get crazy, Sean.
It is going to get wild out there. I do not expect this thing to go too long before we see our first incident, honestly.
No, and I think you're exactly right. And while they're a little bit calm and not chaotic right now, let's squeak in the picks for tonight, Sean. Who do you have?
Man, tonight I am going to go with somebody that is on the bubble, but it's not going to be one of the guys that's exactly on the bubble. I am actually going to go a little different. I'm going to call Jeremy Boucher tonight.
That is a beautiful, solid pick. And I think that's one of the picks that kind of went into my decision on these guys that we haven't typically seen. I'm going with the 16 machine. You see it there on your screen in the bright blue, aqua blue letters. Dennis Ansman breaks the curse tonight. He's had good runs. He's had been, up in the front late in the race. Tonight, Sean, he breaks that. He comes home as a winner.
Well, we will find out in 108 more laps.
And that's scary to say, as far as saying 8 more laps, that's a long time from right now.
Well, it looks like we still got Chad Gunningsman up front. He is being pushed really, really hard by Benjamin D there.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he's in his comfort zone yet. I'm not sure he's where he wants to be. He's looking for those teammates in those flashpoint cars, the 5, the 24, and the 8, all behind Benjamin D, while at the same time, Benjamin's trying to get to that high line with the 74 and the 51. So, interesting strategy here so far. I like the strategy. I know it's the safe way to run. It's the easy way to run at the back. But at the end of the night, for some of these guys, and actually, as a matter of fact, most of our top 6, excluding Henry, if I'm not mistaken, these guys are all locked in. They don't really have anything to lose but some stage points.
Well, and we saw them go past a lap car. That is Thomas Rutherford back there. Not really sure what happened with him, but he is already a lap down.
And I know one thing's for sure. That is the Iceman. His race started off bad, so I can guarantee you it's not going to finish bad. He's going to turn this thing around and get it rolling, I'm sure. Thomas never gives up. I've had the pleasure of racing with him multiple times, and I know one thing's for sure. He'll keep trying until that checkered flag waves, Sean.
Well, we got Christopher Camry. He is up there in the lead in that number 74 car, and he is being pushed right now by Oscar Jensen. They jump down to the low line, and they are going to try to get out there and just leave Dennis Ansman up there on an island.
Yeah, and that's the downside of it. Even though they're affiliates and they're not technically all arrows anymore, teammates, Dennis Ansman didn't have any up there. He knew once the 51 was clear, he was going to get left, but he, maybe made a partnership so he could see later in the race, hey, Oscar, Christopher, I helped you guys take the lead early. Come on, show me some love. But right now, no love lost and no love shown for that 16 car, Sean.
And how often are those deals made? I know you race a ton of restrictor plate races. How often are those deals made on the back channels?
All the time. And I'll be honest with you, as a driver standpoint myself, I'm married to my teammates, man. I'm always trying to help the cars running under the same banner as me. However, the one-off rule of that, if I was a driver of the 97 or the 51, the 74, I see that 16 in my mirror and he's helping me, I'm going to remember that late when I have to choose to go with someone not a teammate or that 16 car. I'm going to help out in that 16 car. I know he's got what it takes. He helped get me to the lead. He helped get me to where I was. So I'm going to thank him for that and repay him later, Sean.
Well, everybody can see at the very top of the screen on our ticker there, anybody that's in blue is in the playoffs. Anybody that's in black will not be able to make the playoffs. And anybody that is in yellow are the ones that are fighting for that playoff spot right now. So remember, there are 3 playoff spots still available out of 5 drivers. So this is going to get really hairy, but all 5 of them are back in 15th place through 20th place right now.
Yeah, and that really surprises me. Looking forward to the first stage break. I think that'll change. I think we'll have some guys start surfacing to the front, because the easiest way right now, above a good finish, to know that you gain points on the guy ahead of you or the guy behind you, is to get up there and finish stages really, really good.
Well, speaking of stages, we've got a few of them going on tonight. So laps 35, laps 70, and laps 110, which is the finish line. So we've got some stages out there to win.
Yeah, and I think right now that's exactly what you're seeing. You'll start seeing some of these cars in yellow move their names up the board. Maybe even some of the guys in blue that we saw further at the back, such as Dennis Ansman. He's not really in the top 3 or 4. Some of those guys in blue, but not, Timothy Latham, Oscar Jensen, Lemon, trying to equalize some of those points. I think we'll start seeing them push toward the front, hopefully at least until after lap 100. That's how I want. We're not going to avoid the big one here, Sean, but I just want to avoid it until after lap 100.
Well, Oscar Jensen takes the lead. Dennis Ansman pushing him very hard. They drop down to the inside. They get in front of the Flying Arrow cars.
I think the one thing that I want to touch on, speaking of Oscar Jensen, we go back to the season opener at Daytona when we ran there for the Daytona 500, so to speak. We seen Oscar lead 50 laps at that race. So if there's anyone in this field that we know can get around here and win this thing, it's going to be that Oscar Jensen machine. Obviously, the 16 of Ansman, as we spoke before, has shown he's willing to push whoever to the front. He doesn't have a lot of teammates. He's got a lot of friends. Friends mean nothing when you're behind the wheel of a race car. So we'll see, one last ride on there for him. We'll see how it works out for him and what he's able to come out the other side with.
Well, it looks like everybody's in a single file line. I was not expecting that here at Daytona.
Yeah, I think it got a little crazy for these guys, and they decided, it's not worth it yet. There's still a whole lot of miles here tonight. Another point that I did want to make to throw to that, along with the Oscar Jensen stat line that we brought up, I want to go back to Talladega with Dennis Ansman. These guys are first and second. We said Oscar led the 50 laps in the season opener, but majority of the race at Talladega, we saw Dennis Ansman out front. And those are the exact two guys that we see right now out front and pacing the way. Obviously, a lot of hungry drivers behind them. 20-plus hungry drivers back there that all want to win, even if they're locked in, even if they're not. It's going to get wild and crazy, and that's what we're looking forward to. Even right now, we see names Richard Springer, Philip Lloyd, these guys all coming to the front early. This is not really their strategy the rest of the season. They like to hang around, be there at the end. But you see that 21 machine up there on the high line, Sean? He's ready to go after it on lap 10.
Well, you know what they say about strategy here. The best way to avoid a wreck at Daytona is what, Brandon?
It's to be out front. That's the safest spot on the racetrack in most cases. You've got to go for it. You can ride around at the back. You risk getting into something from the middle. You risk getting run over from behind. In the middle, you risk it being somewhere in front of you, somewhere behind you, getting turned. The safest place you could be right now is where that 51 car of Oscar is. What you don't want to do, though, is if you get these guys running on the high line, getting a big run, we're too early. Don't try to block both lines. Just let them take it. You've got plenty of time to get it back.
That's right. Patience is key on these super speedways. Even though they are the fastest speedways out there, you have to be super patient because that split-second decision could end your night quickly.
Yeah, and even if it's something that registers in your brain, and this is nothing, this is not speaking ill of anyone, a decision in your brain does take a split second. We see Richard Springer off pace. Not really sure what happened there. He fell. I see smoke coming out of that 21 car back there.
He's falling way back. I wonder if he maybe got overheated. I'm not really sure.
Maybe I saw him really there in the last few laps. He was really sucking up the cars really well. I'm wondering if Sean, maybe he didn't have too much tape on the front of that 21 car. And I think a lot of guys right now, we see the Flashpoint Racing guys, the 9, the 5, the 24, and the 8, all just dove from this front pack to pit road, Sean. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Strategy starting early in this one.
Really, really early. Only 12 laps in, and they are all going in there right now. Now, of course, being a restrictor plate race, if they're all together, they can catch right back up really quickly. So not sure what's going on with that strategy. I think they might be hoping that this thing goes green the whole way.
Yeah, I think they're hoping, if I'm not mistaken, you should go into the stage from here on a tank of fuel. So I think, 35's when we're going to see that stage caution. I think they've done the math and know that they can make it now. They're trying to have a huge lead. I will say, I know I chose Dennis Ansman as my pick to win this race. If I was betting money on it, though, I would have took that 8 car. One of the masterminds behind Flashpoint Racing. He knows how to get it done. Justin Boyles is probably one of the best restrictor plate racers that I know. So he has a strategy in mind, and they're going for it early.
Well, they definitely didn't go for it at the very beginning where they did not go up to the very front of the race. They kind of stayed mid-pack to the back of the pack, that sort of thing, and now they're dropping off to pit right now, so they definitely are playing a strategy game tonight.
Strategy is my 2 favorite things in this race right now, and it's my 2 favorite things in racing. Restrictor plate racing and fuel strategy. There's nothing I like more than those 2 things, and those guys have executed it right now. We'll see how it plays off. Obviously, they've got to get lined back up. I took a peek back at them a second ago, and there was still some space between the cars, so we'll see how that plays out as we move forward. But obviously, probably likely a gas-only stop. Tires aren't going to come into effect this early.
Well, and if you go a little bit further in the pack from where we're at right now, about 3 seconds back, we've got a 4-pack back there. So we got Jordan Sailors, Mark Kuda, Jason Tripp, and Tim Hendry. 3 of those 4 guys are vying for those last 3 playoff spots.
Yeah, and I think tonight what you'll see a lot of is at 55 and at 91, the Speed Racing Network, Team Speed Racing Network, keeping it clean, keeping it clear, avoiding all the drama and the chaos up front. Obviously, they don't want to fall a lap down, and through stage 1, if they can stay just like that in that single file pack, they shouldn't lose a lap. Excellent strategy by those guys, and I really, really like that.
And then again, the guys we were just talking about from Flashpoint Racing back here a little bit further, so they seem to be, they've not been lapped. So they are 40 seconds behind the leaders right now, so they definitely have some work to do.
I will say, if you look there at those cars, they're missing one. You have to go back a little bit further to the 4th car out of that pack, Timothy Latham. He's back there with Ted Pullen, kind of got a little separated, so not sure what was going on there. Maybe a longer pit stop by Latham than he expected. Maybe pit road, had to go a little slower, had to get the settings right, uncheck his tires, things like that. So they are looking like they're trying to lift a little bit. You see Boyle separate himself from the 2 cars in front of him. Wants to get Timothy. Oh, we see more cars down pit road here. So strategy, not what we expected, Sean.
Yeah, that's Philip Loy, Greg Edney, Justin DeReich, and Greg Klein, I believe. So 4 more guys in there staying together as a pack, and that's what you have to do here. You have to have a teammate. If you don't have a teammate, you are done.
Yeah, and unfortunately what we just saw there live on the broadcast from Greg Klein, I imagine hopefully if he's working with those guys, if he's in a chat with them, they're going to wait on him. I know Greg Edney and Greg Klein both were in a Discord channel together, but we not only saw Greg Klein slide through that pit box, but he was too close to the wall. He had to back up and reposition himself. So hopefully that doesn't pay big to his strategy as we move on. These other guys, though, should cycle out to be back there with the Flashpoint Racing guys that we saw before. So we're going to get a bunch of mini packs here together, and obviously the safest spot right now is the Flying Arrow spot out front.
Well, these top 11 guys right now have not pitted yet, and it looks like they've got about 6 more laps of fuel maybe, and so it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and that's going to play huge is when. There we see the leaders are going by now. Greg Klein, who had those issues, so that's an unfortunate start for him, but I think the guy sitting in the catbird seat right now, you see him back there in that Gatorade car, the orange and black car, PJ Engelkens. He's not locked in. He's pretty much in a spot where he's going to have to go out here and win this thing. Right now, he's with the lead pack and maybe going to have an opportunity to steal some stage points, maybe a stage win if it all plays out. I do want to update back to Flashpoint. Right now, those guys are on the high line, moving their way around Greg Edney in the 1 car back there. So the 1 car being Justin DeReich, of course, Philip Loy and Thomas Rutherford, all a huge pack back here at the back that have surfaced themselves together and going to try to see how they play out at this stage.
And that pack includes our pole sitter, Chad Gunnings, in as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting strategy, and nonetheless, it's going to separate a lot of guys for a lot of laps. We'll see them come back together as we get along here. But just as I suspected, this is the strategy I fully expected from the 4 FPR cars, Flashpoint Racing. Not really, you won't see much of them until at least lap 90, lap 80, somewhere in the last stage we'll start seeing them make a push. But right now, just trying to survive, Sean.
Well, back up front, not too far behind them, there's Oscar Jensen. In fact, let's see if we can find out exactly how close they are. They're about 5 seconds behind Ted Pullen, who is up there with that group. So about 5 more seconds, and those cars are going to go a lap down. So they are hoping and praying that these guys pit very, very soon.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the downside that you're going to see, if you're these front few cars here, obviously, from what it looks like, Ansman in the 16 is working with the arrows. But you have to wonder, Greg Klein's going to be sitting like a duck out there. He doesn't have anybody with him. He's already pitted. He's done. But you have to hope and pray that Kendall LeBron, PJ Engelken, all come in, Jeremy Boucher, all come down pit road when you come down pit road. You don't want them to stay out, because then that's when you cycle back to that next pack back there where we saw the Speed Racing Network guys, Trim, Sailors, a couple of those guys back there mixing it up. So hoping, strategy among these front guys is to stay together, because obviously a huge pack back in the field, the FBR guys, Ted Pullen and Edney and Klein back there, Edney D-Reich and Philip Lloyd all back there at the back, and it does look like they're racing side by side right now. So I'm not really sure how this is going to shake out, Sean. I think we're going to find out here in about 14 laps.
Well, I mean, everybody has a different strategy, and that's what makes this place so fun, because if you can stay clean, all of those strategies all have a shot to win at the finish line.
Yeah, there's no bad strategy here aside from falling a lap down. You know, you don't want to fall a lap down, because if these guys are being this calm and racing this clean with each other now, you're not going to see a whole lot of cautions. You know, you have a guaranteed 2 cautions. So during those cautions, if you're a lap down, you have to either race your way to the lucky dog, which right now, if not mistaken, Greg Klein's going to hold that racing with the leaders. But you have guys like Thomas Rutherford who have also fallen a lap down. And you have to worry, you know, how am I going to get my lap back if Greg Klein gets, you know, if he gets the lucky dog, only 1 lucky dog a caution. So differing strategies, just as you said, any of them can work, all of them can work, and it could be chaos. We'll just have to hold tight and find out, because there's still a lot of racing remaining.
Now, I got to tell you, Brandon, as easy as this track is, where you just have to push the pedal down, it is very, very difficult to keep that line all the way through the corners and not run into other people. So they're doing a great job out here staying green.
Yeah, and I think if you look at either pack, if you look at the lead pack, if you look at the pack that's broken away and almost behind, I would almost bet that the only car running full throttle is the car leading the pack. The problem with that is the car leading the pack's using more throttle than the guy, or using more gas than the guys behind. If you're running second, if you're running fifth, if you're running eighth in a pack, you're pedaling off, you're letting off the throttle, running 3/4 of the throttle, maybe half throttle it sometimes. Trying not to push the issue this early, because you don't want to jam up yourself or the guys you're racing around.
All right, well, we got Marianne in the chat right now. She is going for Ted Pullen here, so let's pull him up. He is about to go a lap down, but I don't think he will. So it's okay, Marianne. Everything's good with Ted. He's doing fine. He's in a pack back there. I think he'll be okay once everything shakes out with pit stops.
I have to admit, I love seeing my Ted Pullen supporters come out and support him week in and week out. He's always got guys there. If there's one thing you know, if Ted Pullen's in the race and it's broadcasting, we've got the Ted Pullen fans. And again, I've said it every week, Marianne, Dana Marie Chambers, all of you guys that come out to support him. I'm sure Dana's out there somewhere just floating around. Thank you guys for tuning in, not only in watching our broadcast and giving us the pleasure of calling it for you guys, but showing support for Ted. I'm telling you, the breakthrough is coming.
But back up front, we got Oscar Jensen and Christopher Kimry. They've been up there pretty much the entire race. Now we're on lap 24. Can they stretch it another 11 laps?
I definitely will say that 51 minutes won't. And the reason that what I'm kind of questioning here is, as the leader, you know you're working with these guys, and I know they've got some stragglers behind them. Obviously, no one has took lead on Oscar and let Oscar save some fuel, so Oscar has less than the rest of these guys. Even if the cars behind him can stretch it, I very seriously doubt Oscar can. And that's what makes me wonder, is if when Oscar's out of fuel, is that when they're waiting? Is that when they're going to go? You know, is that the moment that they're coming for? I guess we're about to find out, because I would imagine, if I'm not mistaken, they won't go any more than actually just got confirmation on the radio. Top 3 pitting this time by. So that answers that question, Sean.
There you go. And so now this is a dangerous spot here at Daytona. All of them have to get slowed down. All of them have to play nice and get in.
Them. I knew that would be the strategy there. And oh man, it's going to get tight for a second. Whew. They're going to get it sorted out, though. That one got a little busy and a little hairy, but not to cut you off there, but you're exactly right. They were in the worst spot possible. Luckily, those guys were all coming with them, except obviously the Greg Klein machine, who was trying to get his lap back. So we'll see now where they're going to cycle back out. Obviously, right now, the 55, the 91, the 77, those guys are going to be our leaders. The 55, well, he's going to pull out. Maybe he's using a little bit more gas. I expect those 3 to come to pit road here very shortly, Sean.
Oh, they have to, because all 3 of them need points badly. So right now would be a horrible time to run out of gas.
The 91 and the 55 are coming this time. I haven't heard confirmation from Mark Kuda, but we do know, here they come. Mark Kuda joining them on pit road, trying to get it woed up to 55 mile an hour. Oh, no.
Oh, back there, that's Kendall LeBron. He is off the track. No yellow yet. I think he's going to save it. and get back on the track safely. So no yellow flag, but definitely hurting his chances.
I'm going to take a guess and say someone didn't let Kendall LeBron know. The worst thing you can do is pit and not take tires at a restrictor plate race. I would almost imagine that that's what got him down in the grass. I learned that myself the hard way in the iVCS Truck Series. It wasn't even a track like this. We were running in Michigan, and my tires were old. They were mushy, and I had to come off a pit road and learn that the hard way myself. So hopefully Kendall can cycle back with someone and not lose a lap here, but we'll have to just wait and see.
And so up front now, we have Dakota Jorgensen, which has a fan out there in the chat room as well. Shane, Dakota is out front for you, buddy. So, and then Justin D. Reich in that number 1. He is down there on the bottom side. Oh, Thomas Rutherford needs to stay high there. They're passing a lap car. They do that safely. Always a dangerous prospect here.
Yeah, and I just want to update. It looks like 3.5 seconds now going to be the difference between pit strategies among the arrows in this front pack. They're going to cycle back to about 3.5 seconds back, but unfortunately for Thomas Rutherford, he hasn't found his groove yet, Sean. He's been with packs that have had to pit. Obviously, he started a little later trying to hang on, but he's just been off cycle with everyone else. So I think above all else, he's going to be waiting and praying that stage 1 caution comes soon.
Yeah, he is 2 laps down right now, Thomas Rutherford is. But up front, Justin D. Reich up there in that number 1 car. He's number 1 on the car, number 1 on the track right now.
Yeah, and it's a big relief to see Justin back in the race. I know we talked to him last week on the broadcast. He said he hated that he missed a lot of the races, but he's hoping to run if everything pans out. We don't want to get too much into the details, but he's hoping to run the remainder of the races that we have here in the iVCS. So just saw some more guys. Lee J17 said go 24, and obviously sitting in a beautiful spot. Ashton Knight in the chat. Obviously, that's Corey Knight. Paints by Knight, supporting the 91 Jason Tripp. If you guys do, got a shameless plug here for you, Corey. If you guys do need a paint scheme, anything at all, go check out Paints by Knight. Ashton Knight on Trading Paints. Beautiful paint schemes no matter what he does, what car it's for, what you want. Always gets the job done, and that's the man for the job.
Absolutely. He painted all the Team SRN cars that are out there on the track right now, but up front, Justin D. Reich has control. We got 5 laps to go in this segment.
Just looking back through the leaderboard right now, just trying to think a little bit real quickly. I don't think we have any of the guys that really need the points up front where they need to be, Sean.
We do not. In fact, I'm going to pull this up over here on the left side of the screen. You can see the little yellow bars there. Those are our guys that are not in the playoffs right now. You have to be in the top 10 to get stage points. And so if none of those make it in the top 10, none of them move from their position at all.
I think the one driver who's not having such a hot run on the racetrack, maybe by design, but he's thankful for that, is the driver you see in 19th, Mark Kuda. Obviously, if none of these guys get stage points here, Mark Kuda can take a little bit of a breather, because that's going to be 10 less points they can gain on him tonight, Sean.
That is correct. So we will see what happens back there. In fact, let's jump back and see if we can't see how far away Boucher is. So Boucher in the number 4 car, which is a little hard to see there, but it's a beautiful paint scheme, but a little tough to see. He is going to have to pass 2 cars there in order to get up in position. So if he can do that right now, he can gain a quick little point.
I will say, I think they should have executed this strategy a little sooner, Sean. We said before on the broadcast that they were about 3.5 seconds back. Right now, that second pack that you're seeing on the screen is only about 1.3 back and still closing on the guys in front of them. So they're going to run out of time here. I don't think they have enough to push back up there. Obviously pushing a little harder than the guys out front. But I just think at this point, like you said, Boucher's got to at least get 1 point. He's got to get to 10 to take that final spot in the top 10. But I don't know that he's going to have enough time to do so.
Back up front, everybody's all in single file. Everybody's playing nice. Not really too much on the line up here. There are some playoff points, obviously, because of stage wins and that sort of thing. But for the most part, nobody wants to risk their race right now.
I want to jump back just a second, Sean, and talk about the 2 cars coming into the back of this frame right there. The 97, I think it is, the 97 with them, or the 74. They have pushed so hard here. That's Oscar Jensen and Benjamin D. They were a couple seconds behind this lead pack, and they are shoving each other like it's the last 10 laps. And I'm not really sure what's going on there, but obviously Oscar has to be getting a little hot. They have separated now, Oscar likely cooling down, but man, they made it fun to watch them pushing back up. I kind of kept a watch on them offset of the broadcast. They were back about a second and a half and just made a run here. Now, Benjamin obviously going to try to pick up some more spots here, gain some playoff points, because even for these guys that are locked in, playoff points are huge.
You bet they are. We got one more lap in this stage. And Dakota Jorgensen in the 24 is out front. Not sure anybody's going to try to make a run, but you see Justin Boyles there on the outside. He's got a partner up there. They might do something.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be Timothy Latham in that 5 car. So these guys doing a little bit of recon, trying to see what they can do with the amount of laps left that they had in the stage. Needing to think how they have to time their run for later in this thing when the dust starts to settle and we're calling a winner. I don't quite think they're going to get there, but we will see momentarily. Should actually be coming, if I'm not mistaken, 1 to go here. They're going to complete this lap usually before we see a caution flag. Oh, indecisiveness by Justin D-Reich. Is it going to pay off? He couldn't decide if he wanted to stay or go from the bottom to the top. So big run there.
Well, if Justin Boyles can get right up on his tail, he's got a shot at this. Not sure, but looks like D-Reich. No, it looks like Jorgensen. Jorgensen is out front in the 24, and he is going to clear D-Reich. So unless something big happens here, it looks like Jorgensen is going to take the first stage.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go, if the 8 and the 5 were going to push that non-teammate past their teammate for stage 1. Philip Lloyd's going to make it interesting. Not enough time, though. If it was Talladega, I think he timed it beautifully.
And now we get that competition caution for the first stage winner, Dakota Jorgensen, in the 24 car. So everybody for Dakota, everybody's loving that finish right there.
Yeah, and I think he's got quite a few fans out here still yet that haven't said anything. Sitting at 24 watching right now. Shane in the chat. Dakota getting it done in stage 1. Lee, your boy got it done as well. So we'll hopefully talk to him here in just a few moments. Let him get this pit stop out of the way and catch him before they go that green flag racing yet again.
Definitely, and just to fill everybody in on those 5 guys that are looking for those playoffs, you can see on the left side of the screen, none of them were in the top 10, so no stage points are awarded to any of them. They are still in the same position they were in where they began, and we will show you those right now. So current playoff standings, Mark Kuda still sitting at 351 points, still 42 points out in front of these guys. Jeremy Boucher, 27 points ahead of the cut line. Jason Tripp and Jordan Saylor still on the cut line. PJ Engelken still 14 points out.
Yeah, and right now, I'll be honest with you, aside from Jordan Saylors and Jason Tripp, there's not enough going on the racetrack to really affect what you see here. As of right now, technically speaking, at the end of that stage, if it were to end right now, Jordan Saylors would make it in over Jason Tripp, and that is pending any laps led that we saw. I know those guys cycled to the lead there for a moment. I think the 55 car was the lead car there, so then that might be another point gain. Obviously still a whole lot of racing left, but this is pretty much the basis of what we see right now, Sean.
That's right. And again, all those are just unofficial results. We will not know the official ones until after the race and after all the points are awarded. There were 23 drivers that got out on the track tonight, so that does play a part into who gets how many points. And so it's basically about 2 points per position right now, roughly.
Yeah, and typically you would see with a full 43 car field, the iVCS runs a lot of NASCAR rules, the most authentic, idealistic NASCAR race that you'll actually get inside of iRacing. However, they do scale their points. So if they have 43 cars, the points are at 43 first to 43rd, or first to 40th, however you look at it. However, since they didn't have a full field here, these points will scale a little bit, and it will be roughly, as Sean said, about 2 points of position. So that could come into play huge here. You know, obviously, if there were 40 cars, you'd have to pass that many more to get to the spot. I'm kind of nervous for these guys on the cut line. Personally, a big fan of both Jason Tripp and Jordan Sailors. I'm hoping somehow, some way, you know, they can both make the playoffs. Obviously, that's a tough, tall task, but we'll see what happens here at the end of it.
Well, we're about to get bunched up again. Let's see if we can get Dakota in here to speak to him right now. Dakota, Sean, and Brandon up here in the booth. How's it going out there?
That's pretty good. It's been a fun race. We kind of messed up the pit strategy a little bit, but other than that, it's pretty solid.
Well, it seems to be working out there right now. So if you don't mind us asking here, and of course you got some fans out there in the chat right now, what is the strategy?
Stay clean. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about before you pulled me up. So not 100% sure, but I mean, that's just kind of, you gotta stay clean to have a shot to win this, but long race to go.
And the one question that I wanted to interject with, Dakota, obviously, you know, we saw a lot of give and take, a lot of single file riding there. And then we saw near the end, the last couple laps of the stage, you know, your teammates on the outside, Timothy and Justin, trying to make that run, trying to time it out. Are you guys more learning while you're racing and trying to figure out when and where you need to make the move late if you guys make it that far?
Yeah. I mean, there for the last few laps, we were kind of testing to see where we can make runs and where to go. See how to get a run to go when we need to. So, I mean, we're always still learning out here.
All right. Well, hey, give a shout out to your fans out there.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. They're my CFSL teammates, College Football Sim League. So,
got a lot of guys out there rooting for you, buddy. I think you can still get it done. We'll go ahead and get you back down. We are 1 to green. So, for all of you guys that are Dakota Jorgensen fans, I'm going to wish him good luck for you guys. Stay tuned with us and see what he does here in about 70 laps.
Thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, we're dropping him back down there with his teammates. So that number 24 Liberty University car is going out and going crazy right now. We've got Timothy Latham there on his outside, which you got to be careful. You can always count on Timothy Latham to be up near the front of the pack.
Yeah, that's my fellow Kyle Busch fan there, and I know Timothy real well in real life. He hates second place. He'd assume be somewhere at the back with those guys and to finish second place. So I think he'll be calm here, but at the end, you can count on that 5 car going as hard as he can go, Sean.
That's right. All right, we're going to get back to green, get back to racing.
And Dakota Jorgensen hard on the loud pedal, trying to make room. The 5 car shifting down, coming in behind him. So we're back racing single file for the first 2. A hard push coming for Greg Edney and that 30 machine by Benjamin D. But I think they're going to stall out and try to get in line and ride. Benjamin maybe saying, it's a little early for that.
Man, okay, so Brandon, what do you think now? Because you saw how those differing pit strategies worked out the first stage. Do you think there's going to be some changes made by those teams that fell behind?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in asking that question. We see stage 2 end on lap 70. So just under 35 laps now with going green on lap 40. So I think this time...
Whoa, yellow, sorry, yellow, back in the back of the pack. And it looks like it might be Mark Kuda.
I see PJ Engelkins look like he was involved as well. Jeremy Boucher, Mark Kuda. That's going to play huge.
It looks like the 55 of Jordan Sailors got up underneath Mark Kuda there. And they go for a little bit of spin. 2 guys are looking for that last playoff spot. And then, let's see, that's the 21 of Danny Dow. He is not in the playoff hunt. And then it looks like the number 4 as well. That's Jeremy Boucher involved. Lots of damage back there. Not too many people made it through clean that are in that playoff race.
And this is where things get scary for Mark Kuda, for Jeremy Boucher, especially Jeremy Boucher. Mark Kuda has a little bit more of a cushion to play with. However, that 4 car, we saw it just a little while ago, did not have that much room to play with. So this could show big, and maybe that's exactly what they needed to get both. You know, as I said, Sailors and Tripp, Jordan Sailors and Jason Tripp, both in the playoffs. So we'll have to see at the end of stage 2. Now's the time where that 55, if he doesn't have a whole lot of damage, and that 91 has to go up here and try to get some stage points, because they could both make the playoffs. And the important thing being, teammate in the playoffs is the same mindset as you, and it's going to show big.
Well, it looks like both of them will come down pit road. So that is Jason Tripp and Jordan Sailors. And then right behind them, it looks like the 07 of Tim Hendry as well.
Yeah, not really, sure what the damage looks like. I saw on screen from my end that PJ Engelkens was involved. However, I did not see. I'm going to go back and watch that myself here and see if maybe he had some damage that I didn't pick up on. Looked like he come through okay. Still, obviously, a lot of points out and a lot to be gained. But if he was able to avoid that one there, that's going to show big for him later, Sean.
Well, let's check one more time here. So let's go back and take a quick look. And it looks like he's going to come through.
His come through a little. Oh, you're going to see it right after here. You see a little bit on that. I think it's Jeremy. Yep, there you go.
Just
Tim
a
Hendry.
little tap. Just a little tap there. Oh, and then he had to spin because they were sliding in front of him. So he might have a little bit of damage. Not sure that's going to affect too much right here.
Yeah, I think now is the opportunity where you get in, you get that repaired, and you try to move on forward with it for this race. Obviously, right now, the driver that I have to say that has to feel good and know without a shadow of doubt he's got to stay clean. We talked to him pre-race. He said his crew chief was trying to keep him clean. The 91 of Jason Tripp is setting in a good spot right now. However, he can get involved in anything that can throw that away for him too, Sean.
Yeah, it all only takes one little bit of damage just like that, just like what we just saw with PJ. That's all it takes sometimes to affect that damage and affect your race. Looks like Jason Tripp is back out there on the track after his pit stop. He is looking like he's going to restart in 9th.
Right now, with those guys involved and a couple of guys coming off cycle, that's the best spot for him right now. That is a stage point nonetheless. A couple of spots on Jordan Sailors. Looks like Jordan May still shuffling around. Looks like 11th right now, dropping back to 12th. So shuffling going on, trying to get the scoring right. But I think the biggest thing right now, Tripp's got to go out and get some points and separate himself early from the likes of, his teammate back there.
Well, maybe this is some sort of a strategy shift for him where now that you're in the top 10, do you hang up there with the lead group?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to now. And even for Jordan Sailors, who's obviously more than anything racing alongside Tripp to try to gain points. We do see the 55 and the 4, or I see rather, just wanted to update, the 55 and the 4, both back on pit road. So definitely some damage for those guys, or look like they just come off the pit road for a second time. I'm sorry. Had to go back in a second time, repair some more damage. So we'll see a big gap here for Boucher. Obviously, he's the one taking the hardest hit here. Big gap for Boucher, could play big.
Mark Kuda still on pit road right now. Now, like we said, it's going to be tough for any of them to catch Mark Kuda, but that is not where he wants to be, back in 22nd place on pit road, just sitting there.
Yeah, and right now, honestly, if we see any of those guys below him get a stage win or maybe a race win, and it puts him close to Boucher, we'll get back to that. We've got Benjamin D out front. On the outside, Oscar Jensen taking us back to green flag racing after our brief caution there. Greg Klein, Dennis Ansman, Justin D-Reich all up in the mix and trying to get single file here. A lot of those flashpoint cars not present at the front right now, but I'm sure they're grouped up in the back. The arrows kind of spread out as well, the flying arrows. So a lot of different strategies here. I don't think we'll see an early pit strategy with that caution breaking us up. But as I said, the damage that has been done to that 77 machine is the fact that if Boucher can catch him and we see Jason Tripp, Jordan Sailors win the race, that's going to put Mark Kuda down in the danger zone. Doesn't really have too much to worry about him being outpointed, but obviously Boucher still can catch him if he doesn't have a lot of damage. If Boucher has a lot of damage and he falls back, that opens up the door for both Tripp and Sailors. So a lot of implications playing their way out here on lap 45 of 110.
But now those other 4 guys, besides Mark Kudo, the ones that are fighting for the playoffs, they have to know that this is the stage that they have to get points.
Yeah, and especially, like I said, you know, not to keep beating a dead horse, the 91 car. Right now, if he, and that's with the guys behind him, Engelkens, Boucher, Mark Kuda, Jordan Sailors, all having a little bit of damage. If he can get a stage win right now, I don't want to say he'll lock himself in, but he's going to take major steps in doing so. Especially if any of those cars don't get stage points, that's going to be 10 points if he can win. So that's going to be huge moving forward into only 1 stage left after this one.
And just to update, Mark Kuda is back out on track. He is, looks like 3 laps down. So 3 laps down. He's about to go 4 laps down, it looks like. But he is out on the track again.
What really worries me about that Mark Kuda machine, I know he has damage. I know it's frustrated. He's trying to hold on. But I hope he repaired enough of that damage that car doesn't run hot and blow. Because even sitting there another 4, 5, 6 minutes, Sean, is a lot better than blowing up and having to wait 35 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, if a car blows up, like we saw Richard Springer a little bit earlier, his car blew up, and he is out of the race right now.
And that's the big thing right now. It looks like we have Daniel Dow on pit road along with Richard Springer. So those are 2 spots. As of right now, Mark Kuda does not have to worry about losing. However, if he blows up and those cars repair, if I'm Jason Tripp, if I've got my buddy Daniel Dow in there, I'm saying, Daniel, if you can't get that car back out on the track in case Mark Kuda blows up, I need you to take that spot away from him. Oh, we've got Greg Klein spinning down through the infield. Wonder if that will bring us to a caution. Greg Klein's going to find his way through the grass on the backstretch.
And as always, just never a good time for a wreck, that's for sure.
I think if I saw him blinking a little while earlier, don't know if that played a part in it. Oh no, I'll update on that here in a second, but we'll watch the wreck replay here. Not really sure there what kind of caused the contact. Maybe just a misjudgment, an early shove. Nah, it looked like the 16 was a little inside and Greg Klein didn't realize it soon enough. Kind of up off that bottom line, which you want to maintain. The lap car coming up there and just spinning down. I do want to say 2 cars, one that I saw, one that I heard, blinking on the racetrack. The 91 of Jason Tripp was blinking. I saw that one myself and heard drivers call out in radio chat. A little bit of blinking between the 55, so hopefully nothing major there, causing those guys to have to drop to the back or eventually drop out of the race, Sean.
Well, let's do a quick little reset. So we got Benjamin D up front right now. Let's take a look at his car. It's a little bit dirty, but still clean. So the number 97 Flying Arrows car there. And then Justin D. Reich, we've seen him up front pretty much the entire time in that number 1 PS5 car. Then Philip Loy back there in the Army car in the 01. And it looks like we've got a lot of takers there for pit road.
Yeah, I'm liking that strategy there. If you look at it, basically what we saw in stage 1, 12 laps in, the guys that won the stage pitted on lap 12. We went back racing on lap 40. So we were 5 laps later, so it was 5 less laps we're going to run in stage 2. Now we've run about 9 more laps, 8 laps here. So this here, for these drivers that pitted, they should be able to make it to our lap 70 break. Obviously, another caution will throw that out. They'll come down, likely top off, or the guys that are off cycle of them will top off. So I like the strategy. It's typically 18 laps into the stage, so to speak, even though we haven't ran 18 laps. That's where the fuel's going to fill. So I think they should be good to go to the end, Sean.
Well, and it looks like a lot of those guys took fuel only, not too much concern about the tires right now.
Yeah, and I'd say even if you look back to Engelkens and Greg Klein, they had a little bit longer stop. I'd say that was likely damage repair, not really taking tires there. Maybe Greg Klein took tires after we saw him spin and maybe torched the tires a little bit, but nothing real, serious for these guys right now. Just kind of hanging on and trying to survive.
And we got Jeremy Boucher still in pit road. He's been in there for 59 seconds now, so he is definitely getting some damage repaired right now.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part for Mark Kuda, who right now is not on pit road. It looks like he sit there for about 9 minutes earlier, so maybe got all of his damage repaired. However, if we get Jeremy Boucher able to hold on to the lead pack, and Tim Hendry also just leaving pit road as well, maybe repairing some damage. If we see those guys hold on to the lead pack, it's going to make it that much harder for Mark Kuda to even gain 2 more spots.
It looks like Jeremy Boucher is coming out of the pits just to stay on that lead lap, I believe.
See the rear end missing of that machine there. It's obviously going to cause a little bit of an aero drag. Never the case that you want at Daytona, but hopefully able to hang on and just trying to survive and keep those points. He had a little buffer, but not a big one. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Justin Dierijk is up front right now. And let's see where the rest of our guys are. So Jason Tripp is the first qualifier, so the first guy out there that's still trying to qualify for the playoffs. He's in 12th place, so he needs to get moving if he wants some points.
Yeah, and I'm not sure the damage that we see on the 40 there. Obviously a teammate along with Jordan Sailors. We do know, though, we touched on it earlier, that 44 car had fallen off the lead lap. As of right now is a lead lap driver, Sean, so maybe some comfort for those Team Speed Racing Network drivers that are trying to make the playoff cut here. Got a little bit more help to work with them.
And what a great drive back for Thomas Rutherford, because he was 2 laps down, and now he is back on the lead lap already.
Yeah, and that's just what I said earlier. That man will never give up, never end his race until the checkered flag flies. Even if he's 50 laps down, 45, it doesn't matter. So we'll see what he can do, see if he can make some noise. We're coming off turn 4 and go a green flag racing here, Sean.
And we've got Justin Dierijk and Philip Loy up there. Take us away, Brandon.
All righty, the pace car, probably the safest car to be in right now, but he's going to leave these guys. He's going to head back to the safety of pit road. Justin Dierijk going to be ready for the loud pedal, and he's off. Dakota Jorgensen right behind him. A little bit of a better restart than Philip Loy got on the outside. Going to shift down likely to single file. I do want to bring up a point, as I said, got to speak with Justin Dierijk last week. Nothing to gain here. Did not make the minimum race requirement to make the playoffs. The only thing that one machine is trying to do is put some stickers above the door. He wants to get some wins here before the season's over, Sean.
And even if you don't make the playoffs, you definitely come back in the next few weeks during the playoff races just to prepare yourself for next season, just to get your footing on for next season and to put your place in there. So this is not something where, if you don't make the playoffs, you don't come back. This is something where if you don't make the playoffs, you come back next week and you show them that you can still do it.
Yeah, and nonetheless, you play spoiler. These guys right now, if Justin Dierik's a fan of the 97 Benjamin D, maybe he goes in, he plays spoiler and doesn't let maybe Timothy Latham have a spot on the racetrack that's going to show points against Benjamin D. So these guys will all still be in the mix, are invited to race each of the next 10 weeks. Obviously can't bring home the championship, but maybe if you've got a teammate out there that you'd like to help, a good friend of yours, you could definitely come in and play a little bit of spoiler.
And while we're on the subject, let's talk about next week a little bit. We've got Darlington next week, so we are going to go from a super speedway to a relatively shorter track.
Yeah, my favorite part about Darlington is typically throwback week. I've saw a couple throwback schemes that these guys have thrown together, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Obviously, race 1 of the iVCS playoffs, but it's throwback week, so that's my favorite part about Darlington every time they go there, Sean.
Well, you can see not a ton of action back in the back part of the race, but definitely Justin Dierijk, Philip Loy, they are leading this race, but a little bit of shuffling going on, a little bit of different lines going on right now.
Yeah, and I think those the 4 cars you see on the outside, the 24, the 9, the 5, and the 8, all trying to find comfort right now, trying to find safety. They didn't really make a hard push, which we still see the 24 and the 9 up there, the 5 and the 8 dropped off, falling in line on the bottom. And there they come, the 5 and the 9, or the 24 and the 9, I'm sorry. Oh, we're going to see Philip Lloyd get a little bit out of line.
He got back in very cleanly, surprisingly, actually. Once you get out of whack there, a lot of times it's spinning time.
Yeah, and I just want to point out the guy up there trying to do it all on the outside, second line on the high line. 16 car, Dennis Ansman. He was my pick to win this thing, and he's trying to make a bond right now with those arrows. Every time there's an arrow that says, hey, let's go to the lead, the 16 car is the first one in behind him. So that's a quick way to make friends on a track that typically makes a lot of enemies.
You are definitely going to need that friendship towards the end if you want to win this race.
I think that's all what this is about now. You're going to see the 51, another one of the Arrow affiliates coming up to join them. We saw the final car, Christopher Kimry, kind of holding back a little bit in the pack, but maybe this is the team, the trio that we're going to see late in this thing really making a shove, and they're proving now that they're a danger to be reckoned with on that high line, Sean.
Well, we saw in that very first stage that they wanted to get in single file line, but they are not doing that right now. They are pushing hard.
Yeah, and I think there's a whole lot of learning going on here as we get late in the stage 2. Just about 15 laps before we see the next stage caution come out. So a whole lot of learning, knowing when to time runs, knowing where you want to be, what car you want to be on the high line, who you can trust, who you can't. It's just like they're back in grade school right now. Oh, a little bit of an offset push to Justin D-Reich. He's going to get sideways.
And he hit the pit cone. I'm not sure if that's going to be a penalty or not.
I would say likely I would expect the admins, if any, to clear that there. Should have been a miss. By the one car, so he gathers it up. Doesn't even lose the lead pack, Sean.
And I apologize, we're having some technical difficulties here. Trying to get back in it.
I think it's going to be a little bit of server lag. Ever so often, mine will kick me off of the leaders as well. So hopefully able to get that back. I know I've heard multiple guys in chat, Sean, saying, hey, you're blinking, I'm blinking, he's blinking. So maybe a little bit of server instability here, even though, as you saw the car drive by on the screen there, a little bit of smoke, and even though he was fine. So not really sure what to expect. We'll try to keep you updated the best we can with the top 10. Right now, the top 4 single file, you're going to get Oscar Jensen in the 51, Justin D. Reich and Greg Edney all on the outside, all alone and by themselves, making a push. But Sean's going to try to fix our technical difficulties here. I'll try to keep you guys updated to the best of my abilities. Nothing really changed so far, though. A little bit loose for Kendall LeBron. He's going to fall back. Everyone able to dodge him. Same thing as we saw with Justin D. Reich. Going to get on the apron just a hair. Side by side, the 51 making a charge on the outside of the 97. The 17, Justin D. Reich already back to the front and pushing hard, seeing if he can get there. Greg Edney trying to help that train on the high line. Benjamin D., Dennis Ansman, and Philip Loy all on the bottom. Not really worried about it. Oscar Jensen, though, going to leave the one car out to dry with Greg Edney on the high line. Gets clear of the 97 of Benjamin D. Moving forward. Single file on the bottom, 2 cars up top. Philip Loy trying to find that teammate that he saw earlier, Justin D. Reich. Not able to get there as of now. The 2 cars on the high line falling back. The bottom 6 cars single file now starting to form a line outside. Kendall LeBron jumping up to help the guys out front on that high line. Ted Pullen just riding. Ted Pullen fans know that Pepsi car is safe right now. Nothing to worry about. Philip Lloyd trying to make a push back to Dennis Ansman, but right now we're seeing a little bit of a car and a half breakaway by Oscar Jensen and Benjamin D. The high line starting to make a charge up to the 3rd place car on the outside is Justin D. Reich, Greg Edney, and Kendall LeBron. So coming up on a lapped car, sound like Thomas Rutherford going to stay up out of the groove. So we'll see how they get there. Going to actually get down now on the bottom as they come into turn 1. Not too many laps remain before we see the second stage caution. That time by 11 laps to go in the stage. Single file for the front three. That's going to be Oscar Jensen, Benjamin D, Dennis Ansman. Then you go 2 by 2, and it looks like we might be live again. Tried to went for my best MR, or what is it? Lost all train of thought. PRN. PRN, MRN. I went for the best radio call that I could, flashing back in the days where Mom and I had some stuff to do on a Sunday, and my brother, and I had to listen to it on the radio because we couldn't watch the race. So tried to keep you guys as updated as I could. But we see now that outside line is called up. The 97 had to come off the back bumper of the 51 and cool that car down a little bit. The white car on your screen, there it is, loads his paint scheme. It's Oscar Jensen on the bottom. So glad to be back here live with the fans, Sean.
Definitely. Sorry about those technical difficulties. We did our best to get right back in as quickly as possible. Brandon did a phenomenal job keeping us up to date of what's going on.
Yeah, and I love being able to call races black and white and color, with video, without video. It's one of my favorite things to do. So just played right into my hand there. Hopefully, for all the guys that were following along at home, I didn't confuse you too bad. I do want to go back out to the chat. Caitlin O'Hara, let's go Tonti. I think's how you say that. Proud of you, number 54. We learned a couple weeks ago that was Ted Pullen. So Ted Pullen fans, here again as he rides in this 8th spot right now, just trying to keep that car clean. They're out here pulling for you, Ted. I know Mike, Dad's up there with you trying to call the race a little bit. So good luck to you guys as we move forward. But Sean, we've got a lot of viewers with us tonight, sitting at 19 watching now. We've been upwards of 30. These guys are waiting to see what happens through all this chaos.
Well, man, I'm one of those people right now. Benjamin D coming in on the outside there to take the lead, but not for very long, I don't believe.
No, it's just so strong. Oscar has shown he knows just how to lead a line around here. And once again, the 16 car sticking with those guys. Obviously, I feel like they might pedal a little bit here. Justin D. Reich, I hate to tell you, buddy, but when you get that 97 clear, he's going to leave you out again. He's going to rejoin his fellow drafted partners, his dancing partners, so to speak, on the bottom. So I'm not sure if that's part of the plan for D. Reich, just to try to hold spot there and not really shove the 97 to the lead. But I'd just about say once the 97 is clear, he'll join the 51 on the bottom.
More than likely. They've been pushing and shoving all night long, but for the good. So they are out there. Looks like on the outside, Justin D. Reich is pushing that number 97 car. I don't think anybody's really making any drastic moves right now. They're just kind of racing around.
Yeah, and just with about 7 or 8 laps to go, about 7 laps to go in this stage, really, again, haven't seen some of those guys that need the stage point surface. Jason Tripp still looks like he's leading the way for those cars. Back in 14th position right now, 2.5 behind. So maybe he's trying to do it on the stage, drafting with the guy that you want to be with in any of these races, Timothy Latham. So just kind of hanging on, going to try to do it at the end, not really risk getting the playoff points here. Obviously, they'd be nice, but you don't want to risk it here, Sean.
Well, and I think he's thinking as long as he stays ahead of Jordan Sailors and P.J. Engelkins, who are below the cut line right now, I think he's thinking he's okay. But keep in mind, I think Jordan Sailors led a lap a little bit earlier, didn't he?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, even if they were pitting, I don't think the next cycle of cars got to him before Jordan. It would be a technical call to make. I don't want to make the call, and the reason I say that is because if Jordan pitted short of the box and Tripp pitted after the box, which I don't think we saw Tripp qualify, so Tripp would have come back, but any of those guys that were running with them there that could have went across the line to get to their box could have actually led that lap, but not Jordan Sailor. So unfortunately, we don't have an update as of right now if Jordan did or did not lead a lap. So it's something we may have to check on here in just a little while. Up front, not really much has changed. That outside line, trying to get there. Benjamin D trying to get clear of the guys he's been working with the whole race. Guys behind them, Philip Lloyd, Greg Edney, Greg Klein, all obviously trying to make sure that doesn't happen. And I think the biggest, I want to check here now, the 18 car, actually we saw him go a lap down earlier because of his spin, did looked like he got back on the lead lap there at some point. Maybe iRacing timed him ahead of the pace car when the caution come out. So he is racing for position now, but this time might be the time. We'll see if the 51 and the 16 pedal a little bit. Maybe let the 97 get clear just about now.
It
4
doesn't
laps
look
to
like
go.
it. Doesn't look like it.
I think Justin D-Reich, I don't want to say I know, but I feel like I know he's not really trying to push that 97 clear, Sean. He knows he's going to get left up there with those guys behind him, and I think he likes the pull that the 97's got leading the line.
It's not a bad move. I know he doesn't really have a lot to race for here tonight, but maybe he's trying to play spoiler for some other people.
Yeah, and obviously any of these guys up here in the front, the 51, the 97, the 16, the 1, the only thing, or I'm sorry, the 51, the 97, and the 16, the only thing they're racing for is stage points. Justin D-Reich's racing for a win. Kendall LeBron probably the most alongside those 4 cars around him there. Oh, I hear Justin D-Reich telling these guys to go around, likely got that 1 car a little too hot, trying to push the 97, even telling Ted Pullen now to go by. So, not going to make it. Don't know if that means he's short on fuel or if that car is hot, Sean.
Well, and back here in 10th place, that's Jason Tripp. He is all by himself back there on an island, but he does have a 10-second lead on the guy in 11th place, so he has a shot here to gain a point.
I am going to let you know he's likely going to gain a few more. The 16 came out of line from behind the 51. He's fallen back. The 1 said he's not going to make it back. Remember, they stayed out. Greg Edney, Philip Lloyd. Oh, man, there's a car up high that just about tagged some of the leaders, but these guys, there's about 4 or 5 of them on the same strategy. We didn't see pit under that caution, so right now coming to take the white flag, still 1 more lap. So if some of these guys in the front pack start losing fuel, start falling back, Jason Tripp sitting nice right now, going to gain some of those spots. Interested to see, we're coming up on another car here. Looks like it's going to be Tim Hendry this time, trying to squeak clear of him. But I'm going to say I believe the 16 and the 1 might be a little short, Sean.
Man, and if they are, that is just 2 more points that Jason Tripp desperately needs to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and especially if by chance when the caution falls and Jordan Sailors and those guys don't quite get by him, there's a big gap between Jason Tripp and Jordan Sailors, about a 10-second difference between those 2 machines right now. So looks like, as of right now, though, Justin D-Reich going to make it back. Mark Kuda, just a hair close to Ted Pullen there, but able to keep it down on the bottom. Coming back to the finish here of stage 2, Sean.
It's getting a little hairy out there with a couple of lap cars, but I think we will get to the finish line, and Oscar Jensen will take the stage win here.
Justin D-Reich, just to update, did run out of fuel. However, looks like he's going to beat Jason Tripp across the line and hold 9th spot. Tripp will only gain 1 point now. Tripp coming by that 1 car, so maybe a little bit too much of a gap to pick up another point there. But D-Reich not sitting so hot right now. Hopefully someone's going to help him get back to pit road, Sean, because he is out.
Yeah, let's see if he can make it, because if not, he has to take a tow. And if he has to take a tow, that is bad news for him.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not really sure what the logic and ability here is for some of these cars. I don't know if anyone can help that 1 car, Sean. I'm not sure what the rules are like here in the iVCS in that manner.
Neither am I right now, but I'm pretty sure most leagues have a rule where you cannot push another car. And so if he can't get back to the pits, then yeah, he would have to take that tow, which would add a couple of minutes to his pit time.
Well, right now where he's sitting, he's doing what he needs to do. And the reason I say that is the closer he coasts to pit road before he tows, the less time he's going to have. For instance, I think it's only about 20 seconds if you make it to the start of pit road and have to tow. So maybe looking at about 45 to a minute where he's at right now. We will have to see how long before that 1 car moves again. Likely will, though, fall a lap down.
Well, he looks like he had to get in there into the pits, and we will check that out right now. It looks like he did tow. So out front, though, Oscar Jensen. Let's see if we can't get him into the booth here for a quick little interview. Well, actually, they're all going to come down to pit lane. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think this time they're going to grab him pit road, so we'll grab him as soon as he crosses that cone there on the other end of this thing. A lot of interesting names in the top 10 right now as they come down pit road. The Flashpoint guys, none of which were in the top 10. I think Timothy Latham just going to cycle in as they go to pits. Obviously, passing cars already stopped in their box, but they kept all of those cars behind that time. So we'll see. We're about to get crazy, Sean. Just about 45, 50 laps to go by the time we take the green flag.
Yeah, it is about to get fun. But out front right now, Jordan Sailors. Wait a second.
Going to confirm now, nonetheless, if he did not lead a lap before, that 55 machine maybe staying out to 1 to go, not going to take tires, going to come across this time, lead a lap, and then maybe dive down at the last second. I don't think he's behind a lap. No, he is currently on the lead lap, so definitely going to play big for Jason Tripp here, honestly. Not sure. Got a lot of guys down there in the Speed Racing Network chat helping call the shots. Got a good buddy of ours, Jake Roels, who tried to talk to him pre-race. David Duke down there calling the shots for those Speed Racing Network guys. So maybe by design here, I think if I'm not mistaken, Roel was going to be spotter and crew chief for Tripp. David Duke was going to call the shots for Jordan Sailors. So obviously former NASCAR official and part-time crew chief able to make a call here to try to gain Jordan some points, Sean.
I mean, what a great move by Jordan.
Yeah, and that's kind of stalled out our moment to try to get with Oscar Jensen there after the stage, because we're going to see this time what that 55 machine does. Doesn't look like he's coming to pit road, so maybe he was able to lead that lap, but man, it would have been close. I will go back and check the scoring here momentarily and see if he beat those guys who pitted down across the line. If you want, Sean, we can go ahead and get up here with Oscar Jensen, our Stage 2 winner.
All right, let me grab him really quick and get him into the booth with us, and then definitely let's see what's going on in his mind. Oscar Jensen, Sean, and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going?
It's going good, man.
Man, what a great run there at the end. Everybody's too wide the entire way around. Nobody's really playing nice right now. How did you make it?
Well, we got a fast car, first of all. Then we also got some awesome team alliances here with Flying Arrows. So, they've been helping us out through the way, and I've been helping them out through the way, just basically working as one team and trying to get Ford in victory lane tonight.
Man, go ahead, Brandon.
I do want to ask here, Oscar. I know the Arrows, Benjamin D., Christopher Kimry, those guys are technically your teammates. And I'll make this quick here. The 16's been working with you guys. Has he kind of come on board as a potential partner for you guys late in this thing?
I'm pretty sure. I know we have a few other Ford teammates. I wasn't able to connect with all of them. But, I look forward to working with Dennis more often here. Throughout the race.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll go ahead and get you back down there. I know we're coming 1 to green this time. Congratulations on your Stage 2 win, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you at the end of this thing.
Yep, 10-4. Thank you.
All right, we will get you back down to your team here in just 1 second. And I apologize, Oscar, just having a little bit of technical difficulty. Tell me your team name, please.
Flying Arrows. I was in the Flying Arrows channel.
Okay. I got him back down with his team there real quick, Sean. I was watching. I do not think Jordan Sailors there got to lead a lap. Looked like some cars beat him across the stripe, even on the pit road side of things. So maybe still yet just a little bit of misjudgment by Jordan Sailors, but up front we missed a little bit of the restart due to the technical difficulties we were having. Was able to get Oscar back down with the Flying Arrows, but the front four right now, Flashpoint Racing race cars, and I said before, Sean, around lap 80s where you see those boys come to the front.
And once again, we do apologize for any technical difficulties that are going on. There are storms in the area, so that is causing a little bit of havoc, but we're going to try to keep this thing going the rest of the way out.
Yeah, I've had many storms over this way today. I actually messaged Timothy Latham earlier. He lives about 15 minutes from where I live, and I told him, I said, buddy, I hope we make it to race time. Nothing cleared up for us, but I hear outside of the room, outside of the house here, that we do still have thunder going on. Obviously, we're far from each other, Sean, but storms all over the United States tonight.
And wait a second, we have Jordan Sailors in the pits right now. Not really sure what's going on with that.
Looks like, if I'm not mistaken, as you continue to watch the leaders here, I'll go back and get confirmation on that. I heard some things going on. It sounds almost like a little bit of retaliation here, so we're going to watch and see.
I did not see anything on screen.
Not sure if you really want to get into it right now, Sean. It looks like before I'm going to watch back to where we see that 55 car lead. I will say maybe a little bit of frustration from the 4 car going to come up to the 55 before the green flag, rub on the side of that machine and show his displeasure. But out front right now, Benjamin D's pacing these guys, Sean.
Benjamin D's been up front pretty much all season. He's been out there doing really, really well, doing a lot of great stuff. You know, if you look at this, and I'm going to pull this up on the left side of the screen, we always talk about cream rising to the top. Look at the left side there where you have blue all the way down to the top 13 positions, and then we finally get those guys that are trying to fight for those last 3 spots. And so the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing right now is, you know, even though, you know, you have some guys mixed in there that aren't, you've got one guy right there, Christopher Kimry, and I know Benjamin D's showing white right now. That's because he's the leader, guys. He's still blue. He's still locked in. The only guy in the top 10 right now that's not a playoff driver is going to be Christopher Kimry in 9th place. So, obviously some issues going on for Jordan Sailors. They're going to hurt his opportunity. Like I said, a little bit of pre-raid, green flag rubbing there going on. But again, Benjamin D right where we've seen him want to be all night long, Sean, leading the field. You see the 16 car back there in 3rd, trying to get on the outside of the 0-1, maybe trying to link back up and make some affiliations here. They know those 4 cars behind them. Flashpoint Racing, the 5, the 9, the 24, and the 8. And then you see the other 2 Flying Arrow affiliates and teammates, 51 of Oscar Jensen, the 74 of Christopher Kimry. So some separation here, and obviously it's all emotions running high right now. We see a little bit of contact, the 16 and the 0-1 trying to get back to the 97.
Not really sure why the 16 goes out to the outside all by himself. He has no help out there at all.
If I had to take a guess again, it's going to be him trying to get that nose poked out of the 0-1, and he's hoping that the 97 says, all right, I'll bite, come up high and help him draft by. They can get 1-2 is the only thing I can think of. Obviously, the 16 hasn't been tucked in long enough to really push the issue. One thing I will say, though, the worst driver right now, fuel-wise, is that 97, leading the way, using the most fuel out of all the hungry drivers behind him, Sean.
Now, we do have a few different little pit strategies going on right now. I know Timothy Latham back there in 4th, and all the other guys back to 7th. So 4th through 7th place. They pitted back on lap 67, so they have 5 laps less fuel than these guys up front right now.
To try to do some real quick math here, we saw guys be able to go about 28, 29 laps. 29 to the end is coming up here in just a few moments around lap 91. I think we'll see Flashpoint Racing make their final pit stop, Sean.
Man, that would be a bold move.
Yeah, especially trying to push it that close. I just think that that's going to be the strategy. Maybe bringing a couple cars with them. Let's see here. We see Jordan Sailors back there continuing to stay high and out of the way. No issues yet, but unfortunate for him, he is no longer on the lead lap. We'll see where he cycles back into all of this.
He's showing 2 laps down right now on my screen, But, you know, we have Ginger Tripp in the chat right now with a big smiley face. Ginger, Jason is up there. He is up in 14th position. We know that he got 1 bonus point for the stage, for this past stage, but he still needs more to lock himself in.
I don't want to jinx him, Ginger. I know you're out there pulling for him. But if I'm not mistaken, on my calculations right now, that 91 car is going to be, ooh, he's going to have to go high and jump out of the bottom there. But right now, he should be in. Still a lot of racing left to go, so we'll see what happens. But sitting all good for the man behind the wheel of that number 91.
But up front, we still have Benjamin D leading the way, getting pushed by Philip Lloyd there, and Dennis Ansman is just, he's going to fall back in line. And then Oscar Jensen, who has been pretty much up front the entire time, he's actually done very, very well up there. He is up in 4th.
Yeah, and right now, Oscar has pushed past the FBR car, so I don't think they're pushing the issue right now, trying to design a strategy, I'm sure. Again, we see the 16 trying to go to the high line. Maybe Oscar is going to disappear briefly, going to go up there and help him. Maybe not really sure. Thought for sure the 51 would help, but maybe the 51 sees himself as better being pushed by the 16 here, Sean, allowing the 16 to tuck behind him.
Yeah, once again, a little bit of confusion there as to why the 16 would go outside. We kind of have a few thoughts of it, where maybe he's just getting a little bit more air, maybe he's a better pusher back there, something to that effect. But a little strange to see somebody jumping out of line at a restrictor plate race like this.
Yeah, and still some tangling going on there with a couple of the cars lapped down at the back. Luckily, the 55 is going to clear what looked like the 4 or the 07 of Tim Hendry. They running identical paint schemes. A little bit of close racing, showing way. Luckily, no caution going to be brought out by that. But all clear so far. The 55 just trying to hang on and hope something plays big for him here. Back up front, still single file through the front 8 or 9 cars. No one really pushing the issue, knowing still yet 1 pit stop to go. So that's really going to be the issue. If you pit, if you're the Flashpoint cars right now, you're sitting in the best spot. You're back behind the lead pack. The guys that have been at the front, they're not really on the same strategy. If you say out of 3, hey, we're pitting, they don't have the time to get woed up. The only one that can join them for the Flying Arrows group is going to be Christopher Kimry, who's right now tucked between the 5 and the 8 car, I believe. The 5 and the 9, I'm sorry. So starting to tighten that gap back up, though, Sean. The 5 car's coming.
And just a quick little update. So Justin D-Reich, who we saw ran out of fuel at the end of the last stage, he is showing 2 laps down right now. So just like that, going from being way up front to being way in the back.
Yeah, and that's tough for him. I know he put on a good show, a good running here. We're going to see that lap car make his way down the track, staying out of the way. But as you said, you know, he was running good, running great, and out of the way now, not really with much left. So hopefully able to maybe get a lap back, maybe 2 laps back. Still some points, though, to be gained nonetheless for a couple of those cars. Mark Kuda, an update on him, who was 42 points of the good coming in. He's able to get around Thomas Rutherford and Daniel Dow, so he's up to 20th. Likely, if nothing changes, should just be able to coast his way into the playoffs here. Obviously, not the Daytona he wanted, but making the playoffs nonetheless if nothing changes.
Well, that's the main thing. Even if you have a bad Daytona, as long as you're in the playoffs, you have a shot for that money. So, you know, Daytona is the most fun track that I race on, that I, in my opinion. But at the same time, right now, it's not the be-all and end-all for these guys.
No, and if I'm not mistaken, nonetheless, more practice for Talladega, who we should see again in the playoffs later on, a little bit later on in the playoffs. Again, another wild card in the playoffs. So just holding on now, maybe learning a little bit about who you can take into there and who you can't. Obviously, right now, Philip Lloyd, don't really expect to see too much out of him behind that 97, but he's showing the 97, hey, you work with me at the end of this, I'll work with you. Remember that in a few weeks when we go to Talladega, Sean.
Well, and we got somebody in the chat right now. I think it's Kyle Spees saying that Team SRN is running smart, and Team SRN, that is Jason Tripp and Jordan Sailors, as well as Thomas Rutherford and Daniel Dow, who are out there as qualifiers. So they are just kind of all holding back, even though Jason and Jordan are fighting for that last spot. They are holding back right now to kind of let's wait till the last few laps and then let's go after it.
And obviously, you know, I do want to confirm Pablo Escobar is definitely Kyle Speed's teammate of Jason Tripp, of Jordan Sailors, Daniel Dow, and Thomas Rutherford in other series. However, unfortunately, though, Kyle, I do want to hit on the fact that right now that 55 machine is 2 laps down. So maybe if we get some late cautions, looks like he's going to hold close to being a lucky dog. Right now, got a couple guys he's got to work around to get back on the lead lap. Looks like Justin Vierijk is also 2 down. So obviously wants to get ahead of that number 1 machine, try to maybe get one back. But the biggest thing right now that's going to make it hard, I know it's a little bit off topic, a little bit off pace, Tim Hendry at top speed right now is 123, Sean. So as we get late in this race, he's much slower than the leaders. Right now, looks like Benjamin D's running 194. So as we get late in this thing, we see that outside try to make a charge. Obviously, those slower lap down cars are going to play a factor as they come up on them 2 by 2.
Yeah, and that's really one of the dangers here at these restrictor plate races is, you know, if you're off the pace, then you could end up being in the way. And so most drivers will stay out of the way. They'll be, you know, be courteous and kind of get out of the way. But sometimes, every now and then, something bad happens. That car spins out, gets a little nervous about cars coming up behind them, and then takes out the field. So we hope that does not happen tonight.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times it's not even a driver error. Like you said, you know, it's a misjudgment of timing. Do see we are joined by Mr. Rutherford himself, Thomas Rutherford, in the chat down there saying 2R, go Tripp and go Jordan. So Kyle Speed saying let's get Tripp up there. If I know anything about the guys that are back there calling the shots for these drivers, they're saying, hey, right now you're ahead of all of the guys you about. Don't go up there. Don't win this thing. Ride where you're at. Coast into the playoffs. Obviously, you want to take a win. You jump a little bit over some of those guys who pointed their way in and don't have a win. However, being in the playoffs and not wrecking is more important than getting that win here.
Well, Jason Tripp is holding a 4 position. Oh, and we got a lot of guys.
Oh, Kendall LeBron!
Oh, no! And he is going to be backwards there on pit road. There is not a caution. No caution.
Justin Boyles almost made it clear of that, but he's going to get a little bit of damage. That's going to hurt every one of those guys. The 28, Kendall LeBron, no front end now on that machine. So damage to the 24, damage maybe to the 9 who missed pit road and have to go back out on the racetrack. So again, more playing into the guy we were just talking about, Jason Tripp. And obviously if we have major damage, some of those other guys, Jordan Sailors, Jeremy Boucher, trying to point their way in as well.
And that's one of the dangers here when everybody is pitting it all together like that. If all of you don't slow down the same rate and take the same angle in, then somebody is going to get hit.
Yeah, and I almost want to put a little bit of partial blame on those guys in Flashpoint Racing, trying to keep it a secret as when they're pitting. Obviously, you know, Kendall LeBron, a couple other guys seeing that, trying to join them as well. So that's going to hurt, especially now. You know, PJ Engelken's there. We see with Tim Latham, Timothy Latham, a couple of those guys packed up. However, right now, they're about to go a lap down, and if we manage to get a caution late in this thing, that's going to throw their ability out. But obviously not what they were hoping for. That's the big thing about trying to call your pits as you're coming to it. PJ Engelken's going to pit there, as you've seen on the bottom of the screen by himself. So a lot playing out here with 16 laps to go this time by, Sean.
Yeah, and it looks like Kendall LeBron is stuck in the pits. Not going to be going anywhere anytime soon because of that damage. Been in there for a little over a minute now, which is about a lap on the track. So his night is pretty much over, it looks like.
Yeah, he lost a lot of that front end. I didn't really see any smoke, but do know that he lost the front end of that machine with the contact that was made. Want to jump back if possible, Sean, and check on that 8 car, see how much damage we saw. Justin Boyles wasn't related to the wreck. We had to slow up to avoid it. Kind of got a little bit off center, and maybe not a whole lot looking like for that 8 car, just really, really off cycle.
Yeah, it does not look that bad, but he did get into that wall a little bit. He had to back up. He had to really angle it again, and so not going to be good for him. But back up front, Benjamin D leading just like he has this entire stage. 16 laps to go. They've got to come in at some point.
Yeah, and right now, as odd as, oh, it might be right now, they're shuffling Dyson to get around the lap car of Jordan Sailors, but obviously right now, even though he has no dancing partners but Ted Pullen and Timothy Latham sitting in the best spot. The longer that they wait to make a pit stop, the better it is. Ted Pullen fans out there in the chat, right now, I will say each lap that these leaders tick off and don't pit with no caution is good for that 54. It's good for that 5 machine because they've already made their stop and they can go to the end. So tonight might be the night that we see a good finish out of Ted Pullen, especially if these guys wait too long, Sean.
Benjamin D leading the way. When does he pit? And is it clean? That's the main thing. And then the other guy out there that needs to pit somewhat soon, but wants to be extremely careful with it, is back in 7th place. That's Jason Tripp. If he stays where he's at right now, then he will get into the playoffs. And that's all he needs to be thinking right now, is get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the big thing right now. You know, the guys behind him, all technically laps down right now. Jordan Sailors, Jeremy Boucher, Mark Kuda, all of the guys he was battling with. PJ Engelkens obviously can hurt Jason Tripp if he wins this thing, so you don't want to see the 93 go to victory lane if you're Jason Tripp. But right now, you want to follow the 97, the 01, the 51, the 16, all of those guys ahead of you, the 30, the 1, the 74, all likely going to pit at the same time. I thought I heard those guys are coming now. I know Greg Edney in the 30's coming. Leaders pitting, so Oscar Jensen calling out in chat, he's pitting, so it's about to get busy here. Will they have enough time? Jason Tripp across the radio, he's pitting this time, so will they have enough time if they get it down to pit road speed clean, no speeding penalties, to run back down the 5, the 54 there, the 93, all at the front and broken away? They've got to get single file, they've got to get going and got to get through pit road clean. So we'll see how that plays out for him now. Beautifully executed pit stop by the 91. Doesn't want to speed, doesn't want to get behind. Marianne Cornell in the chat says, hold on, number 54, and be patient. I tell you what, Marianne, if there's anybody on the track that you want with the 54 right now, it's the guy that's right in front of them, Timothy Latham. 7 wins on the season, knows how to get it done on any track and any car. So maybe going to pull Ted back to where he needs to be. We'll see how the cycle plays out of where those cars come off of pit road. Right now, sitting pretty good.
It's looking great right now, and they are going to cycle through. Let's see if they can stay up there, because right now Philip Lloyd looks like he has the lead on paper. It looks like he may be back up to speed. So I think Philip Lloyd is going to be our leader after these pit stops. And it looks like everybody at this point that is on the lead lap has pitted. And so everybody has enough fuel to make it the rest of the way.
Yeah, so I think the big thing right now, playoff driver-wise, obviously Ted Pullen, Timothy Latham, not really one of the guys we need to worry about. Jason Tripp sitting 7th right now. The top runner falling back to 8th now. Christopher Camry's going to get by, but kind of just holding on here. A few spots if he doesn't get in line. Probably okay with that. Just wants to finish this thing out under power with no incidents. So going to cycle back, fall in line behind the 54, maybe in front of the 54 there. Ted Pullen going to allow him to go down. So we'll see if these guys can make a charge back. This is going to be Timothy right now looks like he will be slotted in the 8th spot. So Camry leading that line, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th all together trying to catch the front 6, Sean.
And it looks like Benjamin D is going to come back up, take the lead with a nice little push by Greg Edney.
I've just got a feeling it's going to get chaotic before this thing is done. The one guy that we don't see with this pack kind of off by himself a little bit behind these guys is going to be Dennis Ansman falling back to that pack behind him right now. Sit a long way back, Sean. The 16 still yet got a long way to go back to those guys behind him, but a front runner, my pick up front most of the night, but right now off cycle are the guys that are out there now.
And Benjamin D, just like he's been all stage long, is out front. That was a great pit stop by Jason Tripp. Grum in the chat is saying that that it was a great pit stop by him, and yes, it was. He is back there in this little group. Not sure he wants to be that guy that's in the middle of a few guys, but if anybody's going to push you, Ted Pullen is a good guy to do that.
Yeah, and Ted Pullen, he's one of those guys that he won't put you in a weird spot, but kind of just ride with you, try to stay out of dodge and see where he finishes up this thing. And I think that's what we see between the 91 and the 54. Obviously, as I said before, though, Timothy Latham wants to get to that 16. He wants to push the 74 into the 16, back to the front pack and try to win this thing. However, if we see a big wad up here among a lot of cars at the end, we could see this pack here win the race.
Well, that would make things even more interesting. But right now, if you are Jason Tripp and you are on that bubble, the only thing you're thinking is that those other 4 guys are already more than a lap down. And so all I have to do is keep this car on the track, and I'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's really what you're looking at right now. Like we said, the guys also in yellow running behind him by about 6 spots right now is going to be the closest back to PJ Engelkens, who's 14th. He's also a lap down now. He come in out of cycle of other guys. So right now you got to feel pretty good if you're the driver of that 91. Obviously still yet want to see how this all shakes out. Maybe some more points right now. Tripp obviously up 15 from where he started, but back to the front, a couple of guys lined up on the bottom and working together. It's the 30 car and the 97. So the 97's made a lot of friends here tonight. And the one thing that I want to point out of these top drivers right now, who's in chats with each other in Discord, we've got Greg Edney in the 30 car in a chat with Greg Klein in the 18 car. So the second car in line and the 4th car in line in chat. Obviously, Benjamin D. and Oscar Jensen in a chat together. Philip Loy and Justin D-Reich are kind of going to be out there by themselves. However, Justin D-Reich, that car at the back, the 1 machine, is not on the lead lap. That is not for position. So we'll see how it all shakes out here as we continue to wind down. Under 10 laps to go, Sean. 7 to go this time by.
Well, there is nothing but pride on the line for these top 5 cars. But I promise you, they all want this finish line.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, I wish we had a side-by-side cut we could go to see this pack back at the back here again. Jason Tripp, Timothy Latham, Dennis Ansman all on the high line of the other 2 cars. Obviously, not really trying to make up a lot of ground, because if they were, they'd be single file and riding while these guys are side-by-side up ahead of them.
Ooh, that was a dangerous move there by Jason Tripp to get back in the bottom line.
Yeah, right now, if you're Jason Tripp, honestly, you could fall a lap down if you need to. You just don't want to get behind Jordan Sailors in 16th. So just keep that 91 machine clean. Just keep it right there with the 54, the 5 in your mirror, the 16 behind him. Those are 2 guys you know you can trust and know to keep it clean. This time by, though, we're running down to almost a handful of laps. Want to jump back out front real quick if we can, see what's going down. The 51 doing a lot of what we saw the 16 do, kind of running on the high line, all center of everyone else. Sean maybe trying to keep that car cool for one last push here as we get down to 5 to go this time by.
And Benjamin D is just in complete control of this race. He's been pushed by various people throughout the race, but he looks like he's got the car to take it all the way.
Yeah, and I want to be honest with you. He puts me in a mind a lot. I watched the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series on Wednesday night. He put me in mind of what Bobby Zielinski was able to do at Daytona. He was able to get out front, control who's behind him, who gets alongside of him, and what really happens. And that's what we saw from this 98 machine, or 97 machine, tonight. Is really controlling who's behind him, controlling the pace, controlling the race, and doing everything he can to hold on to this one. And we talked to him a couple weeks ago, and in the past he's had good finishes, but he said, man, I want to come out of one of these things a winner. Same thing for Dennis Ansman, who's obviously separated now, but they've had good luck turn bad late in these things. So maybe we'll see the 97 tonight find his way to victory lane.
Now, you were talking about the Coca-Cola Series there, and if you remember correctly, Bobby Zielinski, if I'm recalling this correctly, he did not win that race. Is that correct?
He actually won the race.
He did win it. Okay, great.
He was able to stay out in front of Zach Novak and bring it home. Obviously, just a quick stat line on Bobby Zielinski, won the Daytona race this past week, won the Daytona Road Course, and finished third in the Daytona 500. So obviously, like I said, showing a lot of what we've saw from the 97 here of Benjamin D.
Oh,
Just
and
kind
the
of
9 gets loose.
That's not what you want to see if you're the leader of this thing. Those lap down cars dicing it up, trying to stay on the lead lap in case we get a late caution. 3 laps to go, Sean, and the regular season of the iVCS will be over. Right now, again, an update. Jason Tripp, second in line in that back pack, riding in 7th place, hoping to qualify his way in here if nothing changes, if there's no late turn of events. But if it's anything like what we saw at Pocono a few weeks back, we could have a bunch of guys go in ahead of Jason Tripp or Christopher Kimber, Timothy Latham, and not come out the other side of that. We saw Kendall LeBron and PJ Engelkens come out 1-2, and we're not there when the caution came out. So anything still yet can happen this time off of 4. Benjamin D on the high line with Greg Edney coming back to 2 laps to go, Sean.
We are going to get a good finish out of this. I have a feeling. I'm not sure Benjamin D is going to get too much competition unless somebody gets out of line. But for those lap cars down there, it's going to be hard to find another line to get around them.
Yeah, and right now, I think the worst thing, if you're Greg Edney, if you're Oscar Jensen, if you're Greg Klein up there on the high line, you're frustrated right now. You see these cars down here trying to run their own race. They're running clean lines, holding their lines, but they're taking up a line that you can try to use to pass that 97. So you've got to hope that they don't turn each other, because right now, if the 8 car got into the 9, the guys sitting beautiful are way back behind. It's the 74, the 91, the 5, the 16, and the 54 in that second pack. They're 3 wide this time, Sean. Coming to 1 to go. Regular season winding down. 2 more miles. The 8, the 9, the 24 all going to pull down the track and allow them to sort it out themselves. Much respect to the FPR guys trying to stay out of the way, but there you see it. The 51, Sean, has found the back bumper of the 97. They're going to be tough to beat back to the line.
Looks like they're getting a little bit of distance out there. Not a ton, but just enough. If they can make it through these last 2 turns cleanly, they can sort it out themselves.
If you're Oscar Jensen going into turn 3, you're going to breathe. You're going to set them up. Do you try to make the move and open the door for Philip Loy and Greg Edney, who are coming with a full head of steam
Oh,
here?
and he throws a block.
Oh, he's going to come down. There's contact, but I think that's going to allow more contact.
Oh, no! I think Benjamin D made it. He made it.
He is still going to win this thing as he hits the wall at 189 mile an hour. Same thing in the second pack. Tripp going for 1 more spot, going to hit the wall. However, he's going to finish this thing, so contact everywhere as that one winding down.
What a huge hit right there at the end. Let's see if we can't see that one more time on the rec replay. And we are going to see, looks like Oscar Jensen goes out there, throws a block on Philip Loy. Philip Loy comes back down, tags Greg Edney. Greg Edney gets a little bit out of shape there. Loy comes back up the track, hits Jensen, and then both of them start spinning a little bit, and then Jensen gets up into Benjamin D, and you can see the finish line right there. Benjamin D goes sideways across the finish line to win the Last Chance 275.
Man, and that's a crazy finish. If we can jump back and see, again, the finish of that second pack as well. Those guys, I think Timothy Latham trying to shove Jason Tripp by. I just heard Justin Boyle say he was going to get the points updated, so we'll know who's in, who's out, who's going to show up next week trying to win money, and who just missed the cut. But here, all going into 3 and 4, it looks like Dennis Stanton and Timothy Latham on the high line. However, going to get a run. Jason Tripp in the 91 going to move to the high line, trying to win this pack's race in his own right. Going to get a little bit into the 5. The 5 hits the wall. The 74 hits the 91. And they just kind of all come together, run out of room. But nonetheless, gets the top 10 that we think he needed, Sean.
Absolutely. What a fantastic race. And that was your rec replay.
Man, it got wild there at the end of that thing. Anything could have happened. Obviously, Oscar trying to push that 97 back around. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we saw smoke out of the 97. So no power for a burnout likely coming for the 97 here. So just as we said, I thought with about 25 to go, that was going to be the end of the road for the bad luck of the 97 of Benjamin D.
What a fantastic race, and we are waiting for the results here to compile, I believe, before we can get that up there for you.
Want to go back and double check how that finish actually shook out at the line, Sean, just to make sure.
And if you're seeing this, he's trying to do a burnout right now. He does not have the power to do so. So
Valiant.
what a great, how much fun is that? How much fun is that? All right, well, let's see here. So I believe we have Philip Loy in third, and then Oscar Jensen in second. And I apologize that the standings are not coming up right now. We will try to work on that. But let's see if we can't get Oscar Jensen up here, our second place finisher, to see kind of what happened on that last lap.
Yeah, just to confirm there, I went back and watched the restart. It is going to be Benjamin D with the win, Oscar in second, Philip Loy in third by about half a car over Greg Edney. So that will be our top three at the end of this thing, Sean.
All right, well, let's see if we can get Oscar Jensen. I want to kind of hear what happened as he popped out of line there. Oscar Jensen, Sean and Brandon up in the booth. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Man, what a fantastic finish. We saw you kind of pop out of line there. I'm not sure if you were throwing a blocker, hoping that Philip Loy would push you to the victory, but we saw that all happen, and then all of a sudden things just started spinning.
Yeah, that was a crazy and wild finish, to say the least. I was actually trying to block top for Ben here. The plan going into this race was to get Ben a win, since he's had one long time coming, and it almost slipped away right there. I thought as soon as we got hooked going across the line, I thought that was it, but thankfully we were able to get us both across the line 1-2.
You know, Oscar, I want to chime into what you said there. I said with about 25 to go, we've seen that 97 machine up at the front a lot of these races, and he never really got the win, so to speak, as we're headed in. You guys obviously affiliated, being yourself, Oscar Jensen, and the Flying Arrows, now alone Benjamin D in the playoffs, it looks like. So you guys obviously going to work together. What's it like knowing you guys really brought it out of here 1-2 going into the playoffs with the momentum from the final round?
Yeah, well, it's always good to have a 1-2 finish with guys at Superspeedways that and be able to work together and not have everyone who you're working with get caught up in a wreck. So just to make it to the end there was pretty amazing for both of us, I think. And I will say it is pretty hard, because I really wanted to get another win, make it 5, close in a little bit more on Timothy, but at the end of the day, I'm sitting on 4 wins. I'm good. It's more of a team play effort right there.
Yeah, and that's going to show big. We head next week, race 1, round 1 of playoffs. Obviously, as we said, yourself and Benjamin D going to be in. How do you prepare this week for the first playoff race at Darlington?
Well, obviously Darlington is a wild track of its own. It's really a difficult place to get around, and just the mentality you're going to have to do or prepare yourself for, it's going to be hard. I mean, I know I've had a few good races there in the past, whether it's official or leagues, but you've just got to keep it off that wall, and if as long as you can do that, just keep the momentum up going into the playoffs, and hopefully gain more on Latham, or not lose too much and not screw yourself too much.
Yeah, just trying to hold it strong and be there for the Final Four. Obviously, when you get to the Final Four, it's a whole different story, buddy. It's a lot to celebrate, though, heading into the playoffs. Any last comments, shout-outs, thoughts you want to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just thank Premier Private Car Service, Buck Construction, Robert Montgomery, the guys at Nexus Esports, especially Zach Hudson. I wouldn't be here without him right now. And, like to congrats Ben on the win. We worked great together tonight, and hail Goober.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, we definitely want you to go celebrate that second place. Sean, did you have anything that you wanted to add for our second place finisher tonight?
No, man, I am looking so forward to seeing you in the playoffs and seeing what you can do against these guys. Really looking forward to seeing that car up front again.
I want to add real quick, Oscar, and I don't want to put any pressure on you, don't want to worry you too much, but I will say that I had a chat for 45 minutes to an hour with Timothy a couple days ago. Actually, it might have been yesterday or last night, and we were going through, and I was talking to him. I said, "Hey, who do you think's going to win at this track?" He said, "Who do you think's going to win at this track?" I found it really hard to say anyone but the 51 looking good in a lot of these races, buddy.
Yeah, obviously, Timothy and I are at the top of the points right now, and that's what it's going to come down to. And we're both going to need to be consistent each week to not let or not allow one of us to have an advantage over the other. So it's going to be a tight points race going into the last, final round in the last race, and just throughout the whole playoffs. And I think we're both good at every track we go to. It's just going to be a matter of fact as if we can hit the setup correct or not get into trouble.
Well, certainly looking forward to it, buddy. Go enjoy the second place. Get your preparations done, and we'll see you back here next Friday night, Oscar.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for broadcasting as well tonight.
Thank you, buddy. Put on a show for us.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Brandon, usually we go to the winner right now, but before we do that, I think we need to bring in somebody that really had a great race, needed a great race in order to get into the playoffs. Let's see if we can't get Jason Tripp in here.
Yeah, and I think we're awaiting kind of almost the call, so to speak, here in just a moment. So what I would like to do, I agree. Let's go ahead and bring him in. I'll let Benjamin D know we're still going to get to his interview as well. Kind of get an interview in with Tripp and see if maybe he can sit tight with us until we get the official call, Sean.
All right. Jason Tripp, Team SRN. You had to have a good drive tonight. You got a good drive tonight. You got a little bit of luck, too, with the other four guys being at least a lap down. How you feeling right now?
Man, feeling good. I think we did enough to get ourselves into the playoffs, so I feel good about that. It was a good race, a lot of fun. Had a good team. Crew chief and my spotter really helped out, and crew chief got me a good car, and spotter kept me informed.
All right, buddy. Well, obviously we're awaiting the call. Kind of obviously probably the most tense moments since you jumped in that race car. Right now, if I had to say I think you're in, I want to say, you got Ginger Tripp, Ron Tripp, David Duke, Thomas Rutherford, Kyle Spees, all the guys from Team SRN, and obviously some family out here waiting for the official call, buddy. How do you plan to prepare moving forward to get up there and race alongside of some of these guys that have been locked in for a while?
It still comes back down to the team. The spotter and my crew chief, David Duke, and my spotter, Jake Roel, those guys getting ready and making sure that the car is ready to go and that we got a good set. And then, really coming up with the strategic plan. The race plan tonight was all theirs. Those guys decided how much fuel to splash the car with, what tires to take, and when to pit, when not to pit, stuff like that. So I, all the credit to those two guys. They really put me in position to be there at the end of the race, fighting for top 10 for sure. But, we were going for a top 5 there. So, but I'm very happy with the finish.
All righty. Well, I do want to ask, buddy, real quick. If you don't mind, would it be okay? We've tried to catch up with a third place finisher, Philip Lloyd. Don't see him anywhere in Discord right now. I'm not sure if I overlooked him, but haven't got to the winner. If you don't mind, if you have a few minutes to hang out with us while we continue to wait for the official call of the points. I heard Boyle say, Justin Boyle said he was going to go ahead and get those lined up. Do you mind to hang with us real quick while we chat with our winner?
Yeah, no problem at all.
All righty, Sean. If you'd like, just hold tight with Jason Tripp. Maybe bring up Benjamin D, and we'll see what he has to say. We'll let you go ahead and get the interview in with him, buddy.
Oh, and I just dropped him into the wrong list, so I apologize. Let me get him back here. There he is, Benjamin D. What a great race. You led a lot of that race out there. What was it like being pushed? I know you were pushed by 3 or 4 different people throughout the race. Did you have any issues staying out front?
Oh wait, are we interviewing me?
We are, yeah. Sorry, Ben. So I know I pulled you down a little bit quickly there. So just trying to find out what your thoughts were that last stage. You were pretty much out front the entire time. What kind of thought process was going through your head as different people were pushing you to the finish?
Well, I was just praying that somebody would push me to the finish, as in, give me a good enough gap, get me in first. The last stage was, it was a lot of thinking about fuel. You could pit early, you could pit as soon as you can make it. Those the two options. You could pit when you could make it, or you can pit a bit later and you can have some fuel for the green white checker. And that's what we're debating, because we wanted to pit with people. And when Flashpoint pitted, they had a little accident, needless to say, and we just kept going. We decided we're going to stay out have some extra fuel just in case of a green white checker. And Flashpoint, unfortunately they weren't able to come back from that. And I was out there. I tried to make everything I could do as perfect as I can. Pit stops, holding my line, and it's nerve-wracking. I'll say, bunch of different people pushing you, and you don't know what their intentions are, especially coming down last two laps. Last two laps at Daytona, last lap anything goes. So sitting there in the front, it's almost like sitting there as a duck. You're a waiting duck.
No, and you're absolutely right, buddy. And I want to say, first of all, congratulations. I've had the pleasure of being up here in the booth quite a few weeks, and getting the call and say, hey, we've got Benjamin D. He's got such a great run going in that 97 machine, and something fall away at the end and kind of throw that out the window. So first of all, congratulations to you. I think I know the answer to this, but my next question is, now that you finally broke through, you've been on the good side of the luck at the end of these things. How does it feel, buddy?
It feels absolutely amazing. You should have heard my teammates and Grayson. They flipped, and it's the best feeling, especially after last week. I was so close to victory that time, and just coming back this week and being able to win, it's the best. It's the best feeling, and I'm so happy right now. It doesn't even feel real.
Yeah, and I would imagine not. Obviously, choosing your stride perfectly, or maybe a little bit of luck, as some would say. Obviously, you've been there week in and week out, but you chose a great time heading into the playoffs. Next week, we go to Darlington. How do you guys prepare for what your game plan is at Darlington and beyond?
Darlington, you just want to stay alive. You don't want to get a Darlington stripe. And practice, practice, practice. That's what I'm going to be doing.
I certainly think that might be the strategy. I do want to turn it over real quick. I want to ask, before I do turn it over to Sean, any last thoughts, comments, shout-outs, things like that you'd like to give before you celebrate this win, buddy?
I always got to thank Grayson, because he's always, working with us every single day, trying to get us the best card possible, trying to get us the best race possible. And I also got to thank, Oscar, because, we used to be former teammates. He's on a different team, but for him pushing me to the win tonight, it just means so much, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you, Oscar, very much for that.
Absolutely. And again, for me, I want to say congratulations, Benjamin D, bringing the win home at Daytona. Sean, anything you'd like to add to our race winner tonight?
Man, Benjamin, you controlled that race, and we look forward to seeing you control even more races in the playoffs. We can't wait to see it next week, especially at Darlington. Good luck going forward.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
All right. And again, we do have Jason Tripp here sitting and waiting for the official call, but I can tell you that based on just my math, and don't quote me on this, but Jason Tripp will make it in to the very final spot by about, it looks like about 19 points. So he's got plenty of room there. So Jason Tripp, congratulations. Welcome to the playoffs.
I appreciate it, Sean. Thank you. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm showing right now. Now, of course, if you're looking at the Dan Lisa standings, the one thing that I do want to point out, and by my calculations, regardless of how it's shaken out, I do think that we will see Jason Tripp in the playoffs. Obviously, these are without drop weeks, and I'd say that that's likely what Justin Boyles is trying to work on now. But going just off without their drop weeks, it does look like Jason Tripp, Jeremy Boucher, and Mark Kuda are going to hold those 3 bottom spots. But Sean, just without, like I said, we've got to account for the drop weeks. But I tell you, just looking at the standings here, it actually looked like that Mark Kuda, Jeremy Boucher race was a lot closer than we thought it would be.
Yeah, but I think all 3 of them will make it in, and we will get to Darlington next week. And, while we're here, let's talk about next week's race, Brandon. So next week, playoff week number 1, it is the round of 16. Darlington 255 at Darlington Raceway. So that will be next Friday, September the 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So do not miss that race. This is where we really, really start. Even though tonight was fantastic, next week will be even better.
Yeah, next week's going to get crazy. Next week's going to get wild. It's all about the playoffs from here on. We're going to have guys that are in the race that are not racing for points, that are not racing for the money, the championship, things at the end of the season. Obviously, our good friend Jason Tripp's going to be there along with the likes, as we talked to, Benjamin D., Oscar Jensen, all of those guys we saw in blue before it, Sean. And Darlington is known. The lady in black is going to give you the black stripe. You've got to keep that car off of the wall. You go down too hard, pushing it too early, and you stripe the right side of the car, and it throws it all out of whack. It's going to be repairs and damage and coming back from behind. So the biggest pressure going into the round of 1 is being Darlington. The one fun fact I do want to add, they have not ran a race at Darlington this season. So a lot of the tracks that we're going to see coming up will be repeats, obviously with a new driving model and a new downforce package, new tires, things like that. But Darlington is not a track that we've been to yet, Sean.
Man, it is going to be a really, really interesting race, but we will leave all of you here just basking in the victory that went on here at Daytona Motor Speedway. Thank you all for watching. We will see everyone next week, Friday, September 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern for the playoff week 1 at Darlington. Good night, everybody.